who is your engineering construction management, and in this case, your Giza contractor. We're managing a bunch of different things with the tech school. Along with me is Rose Fetter. She's our director of internal sales at SiteLogic. It's two of the major pieces of your account team that manages all of the different projects. You started with the Giza project last year. We're now in Amendment 1. Which is the Culinary Arts Renovation Project, and we're going to be discussing a little bit of Amendment 2 tonight as well. So the most important is just an update on Culinary Arts expansion. We are going to do a tour once everybody gets a chance to kind of digest both food and the material that I'm throwing at you. We'll take you on a quick tour. Luckily, it's right behind this area right now, so it's going to be pretty easy to walk through. Just as a reminder, your Giza amendment was approved by the JOC on June 19th. Upper Bucks furnished equipment has been ordered and delivered. The SiteLogic, so just to be clear there was Upper Bucks furnished equipment. That was equipment purchased off of equipment grants that was outside of the scope of the project in entirety. That equipment had installation, had all those pieces covered. That equipment has been ordered and delivered for the most part. I think they might be waiting for one piece, and that has all been turned back over to the tech school for commissioning. SiteLogic furnished equipment, materials, supplies have all been installed and turned over to the school facilities team for commissioning with Singer equipment. That is as far as specific equipment. Some of that is still outstanding, right? We still have our walk-in cooler freezer that's built to order. That is actually ordered and en route. But most of the other equipment, if not all, has already been turned over. More importantly, last time I spoke with all of you. We were still awaiting permits. We received permits officially, the official permit pack on August 29th. We did receive authorization to proceed with demolition under a conditional permit on August 24th. So about a week after our last board meeting, our last JOC meeting, is when we finally received that from Bedminster. Your GC, our GC on the project, Walter Brucker, immediately started. We had teams out starting the demolition. You guys will get to see that in a little bit. So a lot of progress has been made in that past month. GC has now completed the framing and most demolition that's required. So a lot of the dirty stuff is already done. All of the framing is up, and I'm happy to report that we also passed our first framing inspection. So now what we're waiting for is the rest of the process to catch up, but we are ahead of schedule on one aspect, which is that framing aspect right now. So now what has to happen is this same next phase is really our electrical rough-ins, the propane gas main relocation. That's to the rear, to the southwestern part of your main building. Right now, there's an underground gas main that is currently right underneath where the new pad would be for the larger refrigerator and freezer. That's got to get relocated to the other side of the wall, to the other side of the window curtain. So imagine it's over on the right side of this window. That's where the cooler is going. It needs to come to the left side of the window. So we have to excavate, we have to pull that gas line around. That goes up the wall and then feeds a bunch of different units, pretty much this whole side of the building from the propane tank farm back here. So all in all, that's about a week of work. We're limiting the shutdown to hopefully less than a day. So we're going to be working with your facilities or program folks to pre-notify anybody that's using those services. So that's your bakery, that's your existing kitchen, are basically going to get turned down for a day without propane.
Do we have any days off coming up on the calendar that could be coordinated with?
Monday.
Well, that's probably a little quick.
little quick, yeah. Little quick, especially since we talk about supply chain over and over and over again. It's quite literally the fittings were back ordered, so I couldn't even make it happen for Monday if I wanted it to happen.
Yeah.
And then the next day off would be into November for election day, and that doesn't really make a ton of sense either. So
October 9th.
What's that?
October 9th.
October 9th, yeah. So we would prefer not to push it that long, namely because that also feeds your RTUs for heat, and you are under code. You have to be able to fire all of those pieces by October 15th. So we now to make sure that you have heat and supplementary heat by October 15th. So thank you. And certainly if they hit snags, we'll try to do it on the October. From all intents and purposes, a couple of hour shutdown, as long as they know how to work around it and they're pre-notified. That was the feedback we received from them. Just give us 48 hours notice. So that's where I'm going to work with Don and his team and working with the contractors, say, okay, let's notify everybody. It's going to be a gas shutdown during this time, right? Outside of that, there's no life safety impact. We don't have to not have people here. It's a simple process. We just have to purge the lines afterwards, which they do all the time. The other piece is window installation, which you can tell this is from yesterday. This is why these are tough in a fast moving project, because when we walk through, you're going to start to see some of the windows have actually been installed in the new space. Waiting for final installation on those. That walk-in pad preparation, so chicken and the egg. Gas line has to be moved before we can start excavating for the new walk-in pad. Walk-in pad has to come, and the walk-in then goes on top of that. The other piece of what we're holding up is what's holding up on some of ours is the hollow metal doors and frames. Believe it or not, next to electrical equipment, hollow metal doors and frames are probably the longest lead times we have in general construction right now. It's bizarre. I can't explain why. Just be thankful that we didn't need a switchgear or a generator very quickly here. I think I was in another meeting yesterday and we were talking 36 months out for a large switchgear. Yeah, when we start talking years out for parts, starts like, wow, you know, people on this project may be retired before this product actually shows up. It's kind of where we're at. Luckily in this project, we're talking days or weeks, not months. So we pretty well managed that. And as you'll see when you walk through, we made some modifications that didn't normally happen, which made it a little faster. So instead of using hollow metal frame windows like are used in a lot of your other locations, we actually went with aluminum storefront style windows, which look better. They're going to last longer because they're aluminum. They're actually and almost cost comparative because we don't have to paint them. They're a natural aluminum coating. So I'll show you that when we walk as well. It's just little tweaks that we're doing. Just to share some other experience, what we're having to do in other projects is that's a metal hollow frame door. They're pretty standard across all schools, all institutional use. In a lot of cases, we're actually going to aluminum frame doors with FRP coated. So a coated door with an aluminum frame just to speed this up. And you actually get a longer life out of it as well. So metal is, takeaways, hollow metal is really difficult right now. All right, this is the expansion project update that we shared last month. So this is just kind of updating where we're at right now. Here's where all of our timelines were. The good news is we actually are ahead of schedule on that first bullet in September because we obtained the permits just at the end of August. We were able to get a lot of that work commenced early in the new schedule, and we're actually caught up to that point. The goal still remains, and we're still on target for October 2023, which is the completion of the instructional spaces and the associated items. One thing we were able to do is readjust the schedule, readjust how the framing inspection went to ensure that that kitchen, your production kitchen or the restaurant kitchen, is fully turned back over for operation to your instructors so that they can do what they need to do in that pre-existing kitchen.
And the timing will work out good between, that's me. The timing will work out good.
Somebody else's mic on or?
Oh, okay, so the timing will work out good where they, and I'm looking at Chef Fortunato there, Fortunato, Larry.
There you go.
I'm looking, that they're not gonna be without a walk-in cooler or freezer, so the existing ones will stay functional until the new one's built?
So
We're good with that.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that,
That it's in the old cafeteria that's actually larger than we have. That's not an issue for us.
So really what you had is you had 3 sets existing. One was completely non-functional, right? Just didn't work anymore. The other set were removed that were the older units that were removed in this configured space. And then the third one were your production ones for the cafeteria, which are only 15 years old, 16 years old at this point. So what we're able to do, and we have to create a pathway for them to get from their restaurant kitchen back, which will happen within the next week because they're painting the floors. I'll show you that in a little bit. But it allows them to have two structured walk-in cooler and a walk-in freezer that are already board certified, already ready to go. So a little bit of creativity is keeping us kind of in the wheelhouse here, right? We're going to continue pushing. There's a lot of days, there's a lot of action going on some days, and then you're going to have lulls, right? So right now, really where our push is on our electrical side, on the plumbing and HVAC, or mechanical side, I should say. And then we're waiting for the HVAC units, but that's going to really be non-impactful to your programs. Really, we know we knew this back in, May, when we started talking about this, that those were months out on lead time, and they will be. And we'll get those hopefully up and operational as long as we get them from manufacturer in time, well before you need to actually fire for cooling for next year.
No disruption to the learning, Larry. They use the JLC room. They've spread out more in the cafeteria. You'll see some more hands-on activities. We appreciate that.
And who do we thank for all those instructional tables that they donated for us?
What was the company that? Stitch Fix and that bunch.
Stitch Fix donated a bunch of tables, so we have, used for instructional space and.
Yeah, it's worked out great in high school.
Yeah.
Can I ask how many, the purchase of the partitions, how many partitions is that? Is that 3 of them?
There would be 2 total partitions. So when you look out, there's a short wall and then the really tall wall. So it's 2 separate partitions. So that would carve it out into 3 functional spaces. They are on both sets. They're floor to ceiling. So when you go out and you see how high that ceiling is, that's why that's why the cost is what it is, right? The other nice piece of those, as we helped the tech school kind of design that, is they also have half height whiteboards. So when you actually close the partition and it's closed across, you actually now have a writable surface the entire length of the wall, which is really cool when you start getting into iterative process and design thinking mentality. It's very, very cool. So you could actually take any of the classes, like if you're taking a construction class and they have an architect come in, they want to show how, a design build project actually occurs. You could actually just be marking things up and have your students actually starting to draw ideas on the board. Super, new wave of instructional design and space design.
And your timing?
So that one is not handled through us. We actually were able to get you through on a CoStarz contract.
In addition to Larry and Amber, really all the instructors who've been working. Center Enrollment, Senior Expo, there's 65 people signed up already. Because he's saying up to 200, which is great. He's going to be here at 30 different vendors. Casey, you said that that's going to be open for October.
Yeah, so
Okay, don't you flinch on that.
well, I didn't know what you meant. So what our commitment is that we're going to make sure that your storage space is open so that the rest of this equipment can go in there. There is some other obsolete equipment in there, and Don and I have been working through that, but the goal is to have that space cleared by October 5th.
And we want to thank Kevin Nugent, who is a great partner. Kevin's the Dublin fire chief. He comes in all the time. He's on speed dial. He's a great advocate of the school. So we just want to thank those people too that are going above and beyond during this project to make sure that it's going smooth.
So there's and to answer your question, Slandis, the exact answer is the CoStarz contract is $161,000. It's directly through Upper Bucks, through the tech school to the vendor. Vendor comes in and installs that. The last time we had a discussion, I think they're 28 weeks lead time. So you're going to issue the PO now and hopefully have it by the time June comes around. That's just the reality of where they are. They are one of the sole sources for this per se. They're what is used. We use them throughout most school districts, and even when you go into Atlantic City and they have large convention centers or Kalahari, they're all modern classical floors.
And the installation is included in it.
Correct. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That's all in for your cost. Yep. And a pretty simple process, because what they may come out is install the track ahead of time. And then it's actually the panels that are custom manufactured that have that lead time. So So they'll work with Don, but Don knows that I'm a phone call away and always here to help you guys through that process, so. But that speeds it up because now it's a CoStar's contract, right? They do some negotiating on your behalf, but we're able to figure it out. It's just some union rules and territorial rules with the manufacturer, so.
So we may be able to get it as soon as March then.
Potentially,
6 months,
yeah,
I think,
yeah, I
right?
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, March, April is where I would probably shoot.
So if there's anything that
Honestly.
we need for the end of the year, stuff.
Yeah, and you'll learn from me, I'll probably say May just to be safe, because anything can happen, right? Manufacturing can go like this any day of the week, so just gotta be careful, so. All right, so that takes us through into November, which is that new walk-in refrigerator and freezer is commissioned and released for production use. That was our target for that particular unit, because that gives us enough time to get through the pad inspection, the pad curing process, and then to actually have that built out and then tested and commissioned, which is the official process, turning it up. Moves us into December, which is our target for substantial completion of all those culinary arts renovation aspects and the building management replacement, which is starting now with Don's crew of starting to replace that back end of what controls the energy management system across the entire campus. And then finally, that spring 2024, which is a substantial completion of the HVAC components, mainly due to the RTUs not being available from a supply chain site. So I'm going to keep presenting this, especially for those that are on the facilities committee. Our commitment was that we're meeting with the facilities committee every single month throughout probably forever, as long as we are working with you. We continue to give you these targeted updates, and that way the timelines, we're all on the same page. And if there's a question, you just pick up the phone or you stop me and we just talk through it, and we'll try to adjust it and then get it back to the rest of the facilities committee. Very important also for the other committees to understand that, because when the facilities committee is saying, hey, this is good to go, want everybody to see what our back end of this process looks like. Okay. Any questions on the updated time?
Just one, the permitting process held you up, how long? About 4 weeks?
Yeah, they took almost all of our 28 days. I think they took 24 of the allowable 30 days. And that's okay, right? The problem is that they use a gotta put my earbud in like I'm talking in a stadium again. So they use a third-party review system through Keystone that just slows the process down. We went back because usually design build, we do consecutive permitting. So we'll get a demo permit first while we're completing the electrical, especially in a fast project like this, right? We had my initial discussion with this, and we went from concept to board approval in 2.5 months. That usually means that we're not going to have all those grainy details nailed down, especially in a design build. Bedminster does not like those. So we had to go back to the drawing board and make sure all of our permits were at 100% level. And that's really why they got the permits beginning of August. They worked with us as much as they could. They gave us, and I do want to thank Bedminster for at least giving us the thumbs up before having the conditional letter review, which didn't end up being substantial at all. But they allowed us to start demo. So that gave us another week of run time. So
We go right into the barn compressors while we're sitting.
yeah, sure. Everybody remembers that piece of that project. We'll talk about this in a little bit. That actually shows your operable partitions where we're talking, but as we walk, we can talk through that. Okay, so a couple minutes left here. So now we're talking about Amendment 2. Again, this was discussed last month. And there's some asks of what we need facilities committee approval or guidance from tonight so that we know where to put design teams. First off, I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room, or the bird flying up in the sky. Many of you asked why there's a drone flying around the site. That is our drone. That's a SiteLogic drone team that's actually flying this. What that's doing is doing a full assessment and analysis of both roofs, of the main and the annex. Both of those roofs are on your 10-year plan. So in order to get more information and more data and specificity to what is going to be required, we were flying those drones so we can do both a visual inspection, but also a thermal inspection, because the thermal inspection shows us where heat loss is going to occur, but also where wet insulation occurs. The biggest cost factor, the biggest structural failure in any roof system is wet insulation. So if we see there's wet insulation means you're going to have a leak in that spot. If you don't already have one now, you will eventually. Also, that allows for mold growth and indoor air quality issues to pop up as well. So that's just a value added that we provide. We incorporate that into our development costs. So that is getting flown because the annex roof is on a priority for your next capital project studies. So what was on the amendment 2 for this year for 2024-25? So amendment 2, the structure was, or the goal was to have this approved by the full JOC in December of 2023. So that way you have a commitment and you have a dollar amount to be able to take to your sending districts in your final budget. So that way you know how much specifically you're committed for capital improvements. And there's that hard number, but also the value to the JOC is that allows us as your GIZA contractor to start procuring and staging the longer lead time equipment so that you're not waiting until July. So just taking you back 3 steps, if we would wait until July of 2024 to actually issue this GIZA amendment, you wouldn't see equipment until probably 2025. So this is actually allowing you to get back on track to kind of what is a normal cycle within a CTC or in a lot of the school districts as well, where we're signing amendments 6 months, 7 months before that construction starts. You don't start receiving billing until July 1 of 2024, but it's allowing us to pre-stage all that equipment. More importantly, the feedback from the OC is making sure you have a hard number for your finance committee and your budgets. Okay. Any questions on why we're saying that time?
Once it's proved here, how long do we have to figure?
As far as the work?
1 year, 2 years?
Yeah, so it depends, right? So once we get into the scope, we pretty much we'll have a better idea. On these particular items, you're probably going to be looking less than 6 months. So as long as we're ready to go July 1, we can pre-stage all this equipment. It's going to be done within 6 months. So
He's talking about next budget year, like, if we get these on the budget.
He's talking about a chiller and having a 30-month.
Yeah.
Wait time.
Well,
to
again,
get that done.
yeah. Good question. That's a perfect segue into this. So let's talk about what the 4 items currently that were. 3 of these items were on the list from last month. 1 of those has been added to the list since then. We have generator replacement at the main building. It's perfect to Vanna White, and exhibit A is out, that big green generator out to the left, to my left, your right. That is about 22 years old, that was installed here well before a lot of the new load was calculated. Electrical engineers have already evaluated that to be, 2004 is when that was replaced. No, not that generator, the other generator. Absolutely.
So my question though is,
I remember installing that, so yeah, I can
if
absolutely
you're-
say 2003, 2004 is when we did that.
Around here, too, on this, like this.
Yeah, I know, me too. So it's good.
if you're going, my daughter was born in 2004. She's gonna be 20 this March, so. That generator there, though, you said that's a 175 kW,
185, yeah.
185.
Yeah,
So if you're going to increase that, you also have to increase the pipe going in, the transfer switch, the wire size, the breakers, all of that.
correct.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is aging, right? So the transfer switch already is aging beyond, and you're getting into a non-compliant standard. You already added a new transfer switch when the renovation happened, because that had to now meet new code, which is life safety as a separate transfer ATS than your other generated power. So the good news is your lighting circuits already have that. Your other switch gear, your other transfer switch is out of compliance, needs to be upgraded. So you are correct. And some of your main panels were actually existing before that panel, before the generator existed. So it's a good time to kind of replace all of those pieces. More importantly, when you're talking about the gas size piping, right now, that is actually propane that's fed off of your propane tank farm.
I'm not even talking about gas size piping. I'm talking about
Oh, yeah.
electric wire
Yep.
piping. If you go from 180 kW to 400 or 300.
250 is where we're kind of.
But that's where, you know, when I say the electric pipe,
Oh, yeah.
the, you know, the wire coming in has to be sized, everything.
Casey, we gotta,
So what we're doing, right, so just because, look, when you're thinking 250, we're talking 185. That's why we have electrical engineers
What
involved.
do we have now and what are we moving, what you said it's too small? How much do we need that, and how does that compare to what we have?
185 is where you're at. What
Okay.
we're looking at right now is about 250. You need to do a load bank test to verify that and verify all of the load, but when our engineers are looking at all of the circuits that are connected to it, you need at least a 250, if not a 280. That's where a load bank test is gonna come into play, so we can actually test how much it's pulling. Right now,
And is that
that
based
unit-
on, when you figure out that load, is that based on maximum usage of everything in the building? Because, you know, Mrs. Landis had brought up a point, you know, an agenda setting about, you know, it really is just when the power goes out, right? And so that doesn't mean that we need every single thing on across. I mean, I do know that
Code's
we
gonna
need.
require
for-
80% maximum.
And that's where it comes into, so this isn't.
So is,
putting that,
is
this
the
very-
250 the 80% number? Is 250 the 100% number? 250 is the 80% number?
And.
And is that just
more
because it's a
importantly,
school? Is that what?
That's CDH. So because you have life safety systems running on that, if your non-life safety system started to impact that, like your walk-in refrigerator and coolers, which you need because it's hundreds of thousands of dollars of material, if that generator were to fail, you would literally be out of National Fire Code and NEC compliance in this building. Rely on that to provide fire alarms, burglar alarms, required vestibule lighting. This is not powering everything. Projectors aren't gonna work. Yes.
Right, that was my point. Like,
It's
I
a
don't
big
want to
building.
be.
Yeah, it's a
Making
large
sure
building
that
with a
every
lot of
projector
load.
really-
So, and understand that it's not just us making this up. These are electrical engineers do this all day long. You'll see the full report. I'm giving you a heads up of kind of where we're going in a design phase of that, right?
so we wanna be strategic, we wanna get all of the different information and facts ahead of time. And that's similar with the compressors and the chillers. A few years ago, we ended up replacing one of the chillers. We're learning now we should have placed all of the chillers and we should have let it out, et cetera. So that's an agenda item, right?
Compressor, yeah.
The
So when we
compressor.
get through the next two pieces, I'll explain that as well. So
On the generator. Can we get away from propane?
perfect question, and it's exactly where I was trying to go. Yes, we are absolutely getting away from the propane. Don and I have already had this conversation. The propane, I mean, number one, propane's ridiculous
Well,
right now, right?
Diesel's more, though. I'm actually pricing the two out right now. For my work, I need a 500 kW. That's why I'm so knowledgeable about generators right now.
Because you're doing.
And yeah, because I'm doing it, but the diesel ones, like the cost per like hour running.
Yeah.
At, you know, 50, 80 and 100% load is like two and a half times what we have natural gas.
Natural gas is a whole lot different, yeah, and
Yeah.
I would agree if you guys had natural gas in this site, there would be zero questions in my mind, you would want a natural gas. You want an LNG all day long. You don't have natural gas up here, so when you're looking at propane's significantly more expensive per unit than natural gas, and you still have the same filling issues. The bigger problem you have with this generator, where it's at, the piping was not. Yeah, different locations, but yeah, there is no natural gas up on the ridge. The feed that feeds that generator from that tank farm can't even run that generator at full capacity. That's your other issue, that even though it is a 165, you can't even run it at 100% because the gas feed coming in will choke it out. And that is one of the biggest challenges. So the other generator that was replaced in the renovation was the generator over in the annex. That is a diesel-based system. So what Don has requested from a facility standpoint is going to a diesel unit, going to a high capacity tank so that in case it is out all weekend, there's been a lot of outages out here.
So you want a 72-hour tank on that?
Essentially, yeah, because that way you're gonna build enough.
No, it didn't. Well, again, for my business, I'm looking at 500 kW,
yeah.
850 gallon tank is just 24 hours.
It's crazy. You got here way too much.
It's a big building and I gotta put everything,
10 to 12 gallons an hour.
37 gallons an hour.
That's overkill.
So we'll analyze it. The other thought, and we are tossing this back to some of the manufacturers, is actually using your number two heating oil tank and backfeeding off of that. As long as they can comply with that. Problem is, some of your newer generators want to run on ultra low sulfur. That's considered off-road. It just doesn't have the dye. Nothing is illegal about that. That's actually been used in other facilities when you have a gigantic tank sitting there that we could actually pool fuel oil and run it off of fuel oil. So there's another concept there.
Wouldn't that
I
be,
run my tractors on heating oil for that.
All day, as long as it's off-road, you're
Heating
fine.
oil and diesel is the same.
So
no, but wouldn't that, if we're pulling, if then we're pulling from what we already have, wouldn't that be better than having one just sitting here just for this, not being used?
it would be a good argument to be made, which is why we're investing.
Because otherwise you're holding on to all of this for potential emergencies as opposed to pulling from, I mean, I understand the cost is comparable, but you're then stocking twice.
Correct, which is why as long as manufacturers can accept that it's number two and that it's not gonna be ultra low sulfur, and it's off-road, then you'll be fine. I mean,
And
just
Tanya,
use it for
maybe we'll get a
combination.
discount for buying more
Yeah,
fuel.
I'm right at. I'll finish in 2 minutes, so I'm 2 minutes over. Started 5 minutes late.
It's my fault.
No, it's okay.
Don't hold his feet to the fire, hold mine.
Let's go.
Yeah. So the next item's on there, and we'll give you some of those, right? The reason why these discussions are absolutely important is that last bullet. In order for us to continue doing what we're doing for you, we need to have your commitment, your kind of blessing, your thumbs up as a facilities committee for us to continue doing this design. So right now, we have engineers actively working on that generator replacement. The other next piece of this is the barn upgrades and the maintenance items that are required for the large animal program to return to use of that facility. So a lot of different perspectives on that. We were asked to look at it in case it does require a lot more redesign or safety upgrades. The reality is, as what we've been told, there has been no true safety or mechanical or structural assessment done of that barn since basically the animals left the barn. And there are some aspects that when it's a student use area, you should really have a structural integrity kind of review done. So with your blessing, your concurrence, we're gonna have design engineers start to look at this, have architects. We're actually looking with a couple of specific architects and designers that build agricultural buildings throughout the entire area.
So
Most of
basically,
those were
let's jump in there with the
Yeah.
barn. You're looking to have a very coordinated and strategic plan. Mr. Hallowell, Dr. Diamond, Mr. Krug from Lampire are all heavy hitters in the ag. We're looking to work with Bucks County Community College. We've been updating to do a vet tech program right here on site. Mr. Krug works for the Bucks County Workforce Economic Development. He's looking strategically for USDA monies to help support that. I provided Caitlin, who's not here, a grant, ag and youth grant, to help get these costs down. The Delaware Valley University president is coming here on September 29th too, to see if there's a partnership and for donations. But we also have the ag tech and the vet assisting. So we want it to be very well thought out, strategic. We're going to hold the first occupational advisory committee in the first week of October to report back out to the board. So again, with this wonderful group of top-notch people in the country, we'll have a better plan for you. And that I can assure you will not be piecemeal. They'll be very strategic. And we're hoping to keep those costs down through private, public grants, et cetera.
So I had a question for Jim Hollowell, and I guess Don too. Was that barn, did that exist on this property before the school was even built here?
No.
It was built for an educational barn.
Well, yeah, we built a house.
Animals. Yeah.
Sheep.
But not necessarily for educational purposes. If you look at the kennel, a lot of
Yeah.
times those things are built in-house.
Well, that's why I'm afraid that once engineers get into it and say, this has to be designed like an educational barn. I've been in those barns down in Del Val before. They're crazy. I mean, this barn is a barn. It's nothing, there's nothing special about it. those down there have a lot of stuff in them that we probably won't be able to afford here. At least we won't be able to go back to our sending districts and say we need $3 million or.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's talking about that. And I wouldn't be afraid. It's my job to tell you, don't be afraid of the engineers looking at it. What the engineers will give you is peace of mind to say, we're comfortable putting students back into these spaces because
Yeah.
regardless of what theirs look like, Del Val also has high intensity programs. So it's a little different than what we're dealing with.
Yeah,
They're
that's
also
what I was-
trying to mimic production level animal.
Got a little bit of time, I don't know.
And that's where OAC comes in, right? And this is where.
No, and
program
that's
design
important,
is
yeah.
Sitting down with the OAC, with our specialists and say, what does it look like, right? And a lot of these are going in as pole barns. It may actually make more sense to tear that one down, and I don't know what it looks like, and put a pole barn back up that is structured, what's that?
It is.
Yeah, I got it, but
It's got red T111 on it. That's a.
Yeah. It is, and in stride structure, right, but again, they're not meant to be 40-year, devices, right? So we'll work through that, just rest at ease, that we're bringing a couple different manufacturers in as well that build agricultural facilities all across the area. So
Last month, no, sorry, a couple months ago, we met with Sam Geller, who's the head, owns Quakertown Vet. Recently had a couple of their personnel to come in for school tour and job shadowing. They have 11 vets. So we're also, Stacy and I met with them. We're also strategically using them for resources too, because they have a need to train the next generation of vet assisting, vet tech, et cetera.
So continue on with that one. We will definitely report back to you in October as we meet with this OAC, and we'll have a little more information of what you actually need to be in the barn, and then start working backwards from there. The next big major item that was on,
We're gonna determine that.
yeah, there's two right now, so yeah, we'll have to figure out what that was.
Is there someone supposed to be walking around out there?
Yeah, that's the cleaning people and SiteLogic's out there flying their drone,
Oh, okay.
inspecting the roof.
You have, so do you have someone who's out there from SiteLogic who would be coming in the building over?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
just wanted to make
yeah,
sure I
there's
just
two.
thought the right.
Yeah, he
I
warned
walked
us
into the
when we,
building and I'm like,
earlier
yeah.
when we got here.
Just make sure.
Logic employees, flying drones doing assessments. All right. So continue on, roof repairs. One of the other major items on your long-term facilities plan was roof repairs replacement for the annex. This was pushed off, I believe, 3 years ago, where it was expected that there could have been a minor patching. I think that's evolved much larger. We're now talking with facilities. We're looking at some of the roofs. Another reason why there's a drone in the air is to help analyze that roof, to give us more data to educate these decisions. And we're going to be at a much larger repair cost than the original expectation was 3 years ago. So what we need to do is bring those vendors in. We need to discuss what this repair is going to look like, how bad the structural integrity is in some of these sections. We are looking at wet insulation and I think 6 identified locations in that. That roof hasn't been touched since before I was here. So now we've been 20 years, 25
Little bit
plus.
done on it.
Yeah, it's definitely well out of warranty, so we can't go back and fight for that. And we know there's substantial leakage, especially I think we were chasing a couple of machine shop. Down a couple, and some of our drone assessment will help. It's gonna start to show infrared analysis, show where that wet installation is, give us a lot more info and intel to be able to come back to you and say, okay, here's what. Okay. The fourth item that was added in is your annex chiller has a compressor that has recently failed. When you replace one chiller compressor, you should really be replacing both because those share the same oil system. So this way you're replacing both compressors at the same time. Due to the complexity and your time frame, your supply chain of that, and the fact that it's directly Giza related, we can pull that into Amendment 2 so that you don't have to sideways bid that, because you would have to bid that using prevailing wage, because you're real close to that cost when you're talking about 2 compressors right now. You're at about $30,000-$40,000. So you'd be really close to having to bid that out. We can lump that into Amendment 2. Encapsulate that for you, make sure that's managed right. working with Don and making sure.
Well, the manufacturer is Bitzer and my brother-in-law works for Bitzer. And he worked with Remco to make sure that they gave us the best price. It's close right now, it's under. And the price that we compared versus the original person that when we replaced it 3 years ago and only replaced one. He said that was wrong, you know, you have to replace them all per se, and that's close, done, and we've did a lot of the research. Those prices came in pretty low through the one vendor. And so that's, you know, it's close, but we want to be able to get that for the best price, but more importantly, we don't want to keep replacing those every 3 years.
So we'll
One sec,
build,
when did you say you replaced one?
Don, when did we replace the one? How many years ago?
Well, it was when I started in 2020. 2021.
So now we have to replace it again?
No, yes. So what they're saying is when you replace it,
That one's still good, but the other one's sold.
There's two that work together and share the same.
Right, but you're saying because we didn't replace both just two years ago, that now we have to replace
Got
the one
staggered
a second time?
lifetimes on it.
that's what the manufacturer said. If don't just replace one, because they're
Yeah,
gonna.
but I'm not interested in getting rid of one that we just replaced 2 years ago. I mean, I understand that it should have been done at the same time, but I can't imagine just saying.
There's
when
no
it's
way
2
you
years
can
old,
isolate that
should be
oil system,
disposed of.
so each one is independent.
You'd be re-engineering the entire thing, and it's not meant to do that, and under manufacturer recommendations under all aspects, and to answer your question. The problem is do you correct the issue now, or do you keep chasing this down? Right, because then in another 3 years, you're gonna replace, okay, he replaced compressor A, now you're replacing compressor B 3 years later. Now compressor A is gonna have to be replaced again in 3 years under that same concept.
Well, no, that,
You
Running
replaced a
both
compressor
for
every
10
3
years.
years.
Now, you should.
no,
That's my
but that,
point.
you're guessing though that compressor A is going to need to be replaced soon, even if we just bought the new. If we just replaced the old one.
We're following the recommendations and the systematic engineering perspective, which is you take both compressors and you replace them.
What's the typical lifespan of a compressor?
10 years,
10 years at the shore, 20 here.
maybe. Depends. On a chiller that runs all the time, and like up here, it's pretty big compressors. I would say you're probably.
I mean, 2 years is. It just
I'm gonna
seems
go
me-
back to the person who did it a couple of years ago. And say, is there any way to work with us? Because the manufacturer is saying it's recycled in there and they don't recommend just replacing one at a time. You have to do it the right way.
No, I understand
Right.
how the system is, so you got two, yeah, you got two compressors with one system of coolant, also carries the lubricant.
Interested in replacing the one that's 7 years old when we replace the one that's 10 years old, then replacing the one that's 2 years old now, if that makes sense. Like when you talk about trying to get on the right track, I'm not interested in disposing of something that's only 2 years old. But I mean, that just seems.
That we probably paid $20,000 for.
Exactly.
The other thing is that if you're replacing both of them, that's a huge expense. If you're only replacing one every 5 years or whatever, it staggers it. It's not as bad. I mean, that may not work, but it's a thought.
Here's what I fear. If we come back to the sending districts and say we need $1 million roof and $50,000 in chillers. You know, if we give them too much sticker shock, they're gonna push back and they're gonna push back hard.
I think, at least, look, I can't speak for the other, I think, you know, from a standpoint from Penridge, we wanna maintain the building well, but, and we recognize the cost of some of those things. We're taught, we would like to be on a better plan so we can plan ahead. However, what's the pieces that Penridge isn't going to like is when we come and say, hey, we're throwing away a compressor we bought 2 years ago because we want to buy both at the same time, because that's what they're recommending. It's more the wasteful, like, as long as I can justify to Penridge, we're using it wisely, we're maintaining the building the way that we should. And yeah, things cost money, right? I'm not gonna have any issues selling that at Penridge, but I'm gonna have a really hard time.
We're throwing away a generator that is still working,
Right.
that, I mean,
Well,
you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's understand where you're coming from. I think that gets into a slippery slope conversation too, right? Because almost everything still functions to a point. Is it going to function on the long term, and is it instructionally sound, and is it strategically sound for you to use in your building?
Well,
That's a
A
bigger question.
compressor?
On the compressor aspect, the conversation that I would have was, it was incorrectly purchased 3 years ago as a single compressor. So what you're doing is taking an opportunity to fix that wrong, to buy 2 compressors and forward, hopefully getting more longevity out of both compressors by doing them both at the same time under
And
recommendation.
you can come reword that 15 ways in Penridge and you're gonna get the same answer.
So here's the other question I have.
So my only 2 cents is, Penridge has replaced 2 compressors on, I believe, 2 or 3 of their chillers. So
The
from,
first-
yeah.
no.
I get that.
No.
I can only solve the problem.
Here's,
today.
here's the question I would ask the manufacturer then of that. They warranty those for what, 10 years?
Depends on the product.
Probably.
Yeah, 5-10 years, yeah.
So by purchasing them staggered the way we are, that doesn't affect it. If that doesn't affect that warranty, you know, I would almost say, again, this is something that the manufacturer suggests, but not necessarily voids their warranty. I mean, I, like everybody else is saying, I can't see throwing away a $20,000 compressor.
You
So
need to give us a, that the two, you need to give us a 80% discount on the new unit.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're
If you're
probably
willing to
gonna
give us 80%
resell.
Discount, then I can sell that.
So
Yeah.
what I can tell you
Jim.
from what I can tell you from SiteLogic standpoint is, we'll have multiple engineers look at this and provide an engineering assessment, not just from a manufacturing standpoint, but from an engineer's mechanical engineering perspective, and get you an assessment to say, this is why, or this is why you get away with it, or why you shouldn't get away, right? Why you shouldn't do it. You need more data. I get it. We can't just solve that problem today. That item was added on in the last, quite literally, 15 days, 21 days where we're adding it in. We'll start to have our engineers look at it. And if their answer is 1, you run a 20% chance that you might contaminate the line and contaminate another compressor, then that's an informed decision. That's a measured risk that you all, as JOC as a whole, need to take and make an assessment. Does that work?
And can you give us a date of exactly when that, because I think you said 2021. I want to know exactly when that compressor. I want to know
Yeah,
exactly
we would
how
have
it
to,
is.
we would have to look.
Yeah.
We didn't do it, so we'll have to look at
Right.
the original
And
construction
as
documents.
far as the generator is concerned, is it possible to supplement that with an additional smaller generator as opposed to replacing it?
To be quite honest, the effort to anything is possible. The problem with that is you would have to put 2 brand new smaller switch gears in. You'd have to run a secondary, like you'd end up doing a lot of the same work and not solving any of the other problems. So you'd have to put a second generator in, which you don't really even have the pad space for, because you still need access into there. Anything is possible, but I would not recommend dual generators. Typically, you see dual generators to run in redundant situations, or one is specifically only running this life safety equipment and the other one is not. It just becomes a little more overhead and costly, and you're still gonna have the issue that it's a 21-year-old generator.
Can you get us the cost both ways?
Sure.
You could, since you didn't calculate additional load, you could put all the new load on a new gen set, you know, completely separated from this on a pad out back or something. Again, that messes with your permits and
Well,
everything.
that's, yeah, and that would probably well exceed the differential in cost, right? Because now you're putting separate power feeds, main power feeds all the way out back. I would say it's probably, we'll run the numbers for it.
Yeah.
We're well out of time, so that's your request from facilities committee. If you want to see both ways, adding a supplementary versus replacing, I'm fine with that.
Like I said, with the budget fight that we had this year for $800,000, I would hate to see what the sticker shock's gonna be, you know, if all 4 of these items are put on the one budget that we have to take back to the sending districts. I mean, I'll work as hard as I can to fight to sell, you know, to make sure that we're getting everything that we need for the students, but, you know,
Yeah,
I lost a lot of skin fighting for 800,000.
What we have to do is we've got to have a, reasonable estimate now. So we can go back and talk with the sending districts and say, hey, look, this is what we see coming down the pike, talk with the business managers there, and see what their appetite is to fund it. You know, this year, I know that we're tight. But I think there's some wiggle room there if we budget it, but, you know. We gotta give them a heads up, because, you know, $1 million here and $1 million there adds up, right?
We can, maybe you can build that into your expansion plan, Chuck, and raise the roof over there, build another floor, right?
That'll make the engineers go a little crazy. Yeah, build superstructure on the outside, we can do anything. And I think that's my point, adding at the end, is we are here to serve you. So whatever you guys all want us to kind of modify, we've worked and developed that comprehensive long-term facilities plan. That's where these items came from. Some of these were pushed up in order. Generator would have been a following year, but because of the additional load and we had electrical engineers inspecting the entire panel when we're putting the new walk-ins, started to realize that so much has been added since that renovation that you are well undersized on that generator, right? So things like that will occur. Things like roof replacement, things like window replacements will jump around on a 5 to 10 year plan. But rest assured that all of this was addressed in that long-term plan. It is our responsibility to help continue to build this with you and to make sure that we're all on the same page. To your point, the whole concept of the new timeline for Amendment 2 is listening to everything that the JOC has already given us, which says we need to have the firm numbers ahead of budgeting so that we're not shoehorning it into the budget, but instead you have this number ahead of budget. We are on plan for that, because by December, you're going to have a GIZA amendment that is ready to be signed so we can pre-stage this equipment. So that gives you all of that dead number, that not to exceed allowable GIZA number that says, we know we need this much to get this work done. This is why we need to get the work done.
Our schools budget for the year, we already have our budgets for 24-25, right?
No.
No,
So,
well,
yeah, they already have the preliminary budgets to draft. So you look July 2023 for the project kickoff,
Yeah, it's a number wrong. That'd be July 2024 because that's already.
but even having it July 2024.
no,
We
you're looking
can't-
at the timeline for the kitchen renovation.
No, that's just the numbers wrong. in July.
Project kickoff.
So let me just answer,
I got
let me answer this. Yes, we all do, and I will speak for the last 23 years. We have projections for 23, 24. You're looking at projections for 24 to 25, but your business administrators are in no way developing comprehensive budgets yet for 24, 25.
So we need-
They're building structures.
But that's what we need. We need.
This-
solid documents.
Correct.
And
Typically, JOC budgets are submitted to the board, to your administrators at the 3 sending districts. This comes from 10 years of being here and 7 of those as an administrator. We supply those December and January. December and January is the preliminary numbers that this is what the JOC is going to need to continue functioning this. That marries into your enrollment data, which comes and is usually firmed up in February or March. And then by April, you're in full budget.
This is about. That was all shared with us, and I guess my concern is some of these things weren't on that, right? When we had that
So-
discussion a couple of years ago.
Like the generator was on it, but it was down a few years. He's saying they moved it up.
All
because of-
three of those top 3 items were on your 5-year plan, been either last year or this year. Yes.
So the roof project, right? We had talked about that roof was gonna need to be repaired, and we had like. It was under $100,000 that we were talking about for that. So I'm concerned that we're going from a discussion of, oh, it's gonna be I don't know, $60,000-$70,000 to repair it, to a conversation about replacing a roof, which is a huge difference.
So both plans, and one was as a targeted potential cost for limited patching and repairs based on your final needs. Limited patching and repair study, when it was done 3 years ago, changes very rapidly, right? You've had some pretty intense storms that caused more damage than you would expect. So what the point is, that number, if that's where you guys want to go, we have to get roofing contractors in that are willing to do that work to dig in deeper to know what you're buying, right? And what they're going to guarantee you in case it doesn't work. That's one of your biggest challenges when you're modifying the roof that is out of warranty, is there is going to be no performance guarantee to that. So if you put $60,000 or $100,000 into that and it starts leaking 3 feet away from where your patch is, they're not responsible. So that's our responsibility to educate you and provide you the documentation to say, here's what we're recommending based on structural need and the entire system. If you guys would prefer to just do a limited patching or a more moderate patching, we will certainly help you walk that path. We will be right there. We're showing you both options. The recommendation, especially based on the current conditions, is replace the roof system, because then you're getting a whole new warranty based on the entire roof system, as opposed to just doing limited patching. Certainly, if there's budgeting issues, that's your decision, your prerogative to tell us back and say, okay, now we can't get $1 million, but we're going to spend 100,000. Just know that there are performance limitations to that. Where if it springs another 15 leaks, it may not be the last $100,000 you get spent, but we will get you that expert opinion. I'm giving this to you as literal phase 1 before our design engineers dig in. We're doing what we can, including the drones overhead tonight, just to provide more data and more intelligence to help you make that decision.
Right. I mean, we're talking about, we just had the situation with a roof leak that was, under warranty, and actually dove into what the contract was that was approved for that warranty back when that roof was first done. And if you read the language of the warranty, it guarantees you nothing. It protects you on nothing, which is why we had to pay for the repairs. So, I mean, a warranty that warranties actually none of the work doesn't really help. So some of that's going to be something that's got to be part of the conversation, because I'm certainly not going to be banking that much more money when if we're going with a company that's giving us a contract like that.
That's something that another point of discussion, that there is a maintenance routine that has to be completed, right? It's like buying a new car. If you don't get the oil changed on those intervals and they can prove it, you're voiding. Understood. Yeah. Anyway, but when we get closer, we will definitely have that conversation, and certainly Mr. Khan will be involved at the contract negotiation aspects with that too, just to make sure. So what I need from you, as we are well out of time now, is, and it sounds like we have kind of marching orders for all 4 of those. We're going to come back to you. We will continue to kind of work through these pieces and make sure that we're giving you more updates in October about those 4, right? Generator details. I heard what we need is alternative of supplementary and what that cost for a supplementary would be. Just turned off, sorry. Yes, supplementary for the generator, justification and load calculations. The barn upgrades and maintenance items, roof repairs and replacement, as we just discussed, and costs for both aspects and details. And then finally, those annex chiller compressor replacements and a little more details.
Well, details on what's actually
Engineering
involved in that.
perspective. Yep. Yes, sir.
And dollars, we need money, we need to know what we need to go to our districts with.
It's kind of, but yeah.
Well, and remember that yes, we will give you rough order of magnitude numbers, but that is not what our GIZA amendment is built on, because once we issue you a GIZA amendment, we are bound by those terms. We're not allowed to give you a change order beyond that. So we can't just issue that number out. Yesterday, we actually have to put those numbers on the street and get multiple vendors back to make sure that we're not taking a gigantic risk by running this and giving you a number early on, right? Does that make sense? But we will have ROM numbers for you as we're working through these, right? And that's your rough orders of magnitude. Okay. All right. Still want to detour real quick? We can make it short. You're out of time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe after.
Oh, he didn't want to stay till that late.
Yeah. Fortunately, I have sole custody of a 15-year-old that I.
Here's the thing. I mean, even if the start of the meeting is pushed back a little bit, I think it's probably a good idea for us to take a quick walk through there.
I think you only need 5 minutes for this tour.
Just do it with the
This was a little longer. There was a lot in this, that I knew was gonna spur some discussion, but.
Yeah. Discussion is what takes it.
I think we
It's right here, luckily. We don't have to get in the
Yeah.
bus.
Yeah. is ever a concern, we have all of that information.
I want to thank Tanya. We really tried to do apples to apples, but as she mentioned, it's not possible. And we've tried, we used
Theorized,
agent
and that's-
theories, but now we're good to go and we're set.
And what I like about it is you're saying it's the checks and balances. It holds everybody accountable. What the JOC approves in terms of obsoleting and what they approve in purchasing. So you have a record of it all, which traces back to holding the business office accountable to make sure those documents get to this. New, but you won't need it as much because we're sending them all JOC approved, new and old.
I guess I was thinking we'd be able to update it ourselves. Is there a mechanism for us to just be able to keep track? Because it would have been a nightmare for us to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
Which is why we brought them in. But as far as maintaining it, I feel like that's something that,
So there's an Excel document that we could just take, and that's what you did in the past. And then.
We got
you-
behind.
but we just need, well, we need checks and balances, like you said, and accountability to make sure that those
Yep.
steps are happening. So.
There's no cost to what they're doing it for us right now. So that's why I think it's a great value.
Oh, I thought you were saying there's still a smaller
Just if we
cost
bring
when they
them
come
in.
If we
and
bring them
update.
back physically into the building.
That's a
But
great
for me to
reduction in
send them,
price the next year. So they're not going to be doing everything to complete
Correct.
overhaul. It's a significant
there's
reduction.
no cost when
Yeah.
I send them the documents.
And how
And then
long,
it's
for
electronic.
how long?
That's
how long is that
actually a
covered?
great question. I didn't ask that. I can look into that for you and
Okay.
ask that.
And then, because I think, can we put together some kind of process, some procedure for in-house of, having those checks and balances in place?
Yes.
So that's what Tom's doing, is reporting to,
Right, I just mean in-house as far as.
So our instructors keep updating Tanya on a regular basis, like what
assume
they
we
have.
have access to the information whenever we want.
Yeah, you do.
I just mean, it was happening in the past, right? But it wasn't, it wasn't staying maintained. So what I'm saying is, how are, like, we need there, it to be laid out whose responsibility it is to do what, so that if something doesn't happen in the future, it's clear what everybody needs to do.
That's why we
Because I
focus
don't think
on
it all falls on one
the
person.
policies are going to be the key, the regulations and then the procedures. We talked about that. We
Yeah,
have
drive
a
it up
great
bullet
start.
points.
And so we consider that and we will have that through policies, regs, procedures. And we want to make sure that we're in a good place now that we continue in that good
Right,
place.
exactly.
And then
Thank you.
we can tell how large our motorcycle fleet is when Mr. Young sends in his update.
You will.
Yep.
Okay, Tanya, do you want to go to the next?
Absolutely. So just a finance, I was asked to give an update. So a couple things, we're working with, on closing out 22-23's books and doing the balance forwards for 23-24. We're currently working with PASBO on some training for me and in those closeouts and balance forwards. So we just met with him on Friday. He did an analysis of our 21-22 books, our 22-23, and our 23-24, and he gave positive feedback, so it was great. I thought that.
I'd like
And
to thank Hannah. She's the head of PASBO for supporting Dale's participation here. I met her at the PACTA conference and she's been great and Dale's been awesome. And sorry, just wanted to give them thanks.
in that, I've reached out to the business administrators to kick off our fall meetings to start out for a 24-25 budget. So we look forward to starting those.
We want to meet with them regularly, not just during the budget. And I think that's important. And Dale's really telling us the timing, the October, November. if we want to hit upon that when the AFR and the audit, we're looking at November.
I'm sorry, say that again?
For the AFR and the audit, we're looking at November.
We're waiting
timeframe.
to hear from the auditor.
Yes.
That would be
And
the auditor.
did you say you
scheduling
already
that.
met with the sending district
No,
business
I reached out
administrators?
to them.
You
I
reached
sent an
out to
email.
set up that
Yeah,
meeting, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, good.
So, and we're in good shape. Hasbro indicated we're right on time in September and early, actually, so. They asked for me to give them a kind of an outline from July to now. As it stands, your revenues are just over 2.6 and your total bills are right in a line. So you're about quarter in and your bills are matching your expenditure. So, or your revenues are matching this. So we are in good shape. I was asked to also talk about the fund balance with, do you want to do that now? Or-
Yeah, I think on the agenda tonight is the partitions, and Tanya and I have been meeting. Tanya, what's your recommendation for the
So for the
partitions?
partitions, I would recommend taking it from your Fund 30, your capital, where you had authorized us to put the 407,000 in June. There you currently have about 456,000 in Pliget. In that capital account, we have committed to finish our switch project, our E-rates. That's about 22,000. We're waiting for the final invoice though. That will come out of that. After that, you will have the remaining, so about 430,000 from there. You have approved your cafeteria renovation for the 743. But from what I was hearing with tonight, with that 28-week lead, you wouldn't even be paying this 161,000 until the spring, once you receive, which you can't pay until you receive it. So
We'll be
gives you
way,
more time as
way
well.
beyond the audit and time and everything else.
So my recommendation is to take it from there.
And do we have a projection, because there's additional money that we're putting in for the balance that was left over at the end of the year?
Nope, and we spoke to Pliget about that, I'm sorry, PASBO about that, and they recommended that we not do that. We don't make projections, you wait for your audit to come back and your filing of your AFR.
Okay, because I know at the sending districts, we can usually they at least will give us,
Some
you know,
projection.
right, a projection of, based on what we have going out, this is where we're expecting to end up, right?
Yeah, so we asked
Still a
about
guess,
that.
and the numbers people don't like to do that. Let the audit get done and then we'll know for
Yeah,
sure.
well, I would say that our business manager's a numbers guy, but.
And he twists his arm to get it.
No, he does it on his own.
He twists his own arm?
Yeah, it's his information, he puts together, he shares with us.
Well,
I
it's
just,
good,
I sit back
I
and
enjoy
enjoy the presentation, Jim.
I'd like to, for the
and
board,
I will give him props, he's very experienced. and-
for the board, we're looking obviously to bring in revenue through ABC and the lease. You'll see on the board agenda tonight, cosmetology to potentially lease out that space. Kim is here. Where if we have, how many students, Kim? Up to 8, I believe. They will pay us $20,000 to lease the spot. And I'll talk a little bit about during my time, but increase revenues. But we also want to be very strategic with the grants. One of the grants that came out, the supplemental equipment grant, on the line item for the state, it went from 5 million to 15 million. So typically, we've put in $60,000 worth of equipment into that. We're going to make sure that we put in as much as possible so that the state will, fund a lot of the equipment in the current budget. So we've been very strategic. Tanya and I met to make sure that we're not overspending. We have a healthy start to the school year. And we'll continue to make sure that we're looking ways to bring in revenue and decrease expenses through the Ag and Youth Grant, the capital. We're going to continue. I think the staff are being very aggressive to leave no rock unturned.
I'd like to see us set up an account that we're putting this money in. When you talk about the additional grant money that you're getting, when you talk about the additional revenue you're getting from ABC and from Bucks County Community College for renting out that space, because when it's just getting put back in without really a direction. At the end of the year, it looks like, oh, look, there's a surplus. You guys under budget, you guys essentially under budgeted, and we didn't, right? This is surplus money. You're going out, you're getting these additional grants. You're going out and you're getting in this extra revenue by renting out these facilities and finding all these great ways to do that. I think it would be great if we had an account where we designated and put that money. Maybe it could even be like a program improvement budget, so that we use that money towards our programs and projects for students and things like that would benefit the school in the future, because that's additional money that we're bringing in without a direction. And I think that's something that we can talk about, how that makes sense to use that money in the future, but it should be categorized differently and differentiated from the rest of the budget.
Well, it should definitely be comprehended.
Sorry?
It should definitely be comprehended, and reported to the sending districts.
So they could
Right,
send
but
us
I'm
less
saying-
money next year.
Understood. Right, I agree with you. I'm saying rather than putting it in an
What it does is
unassigned,
It reduces the overall expenses of the sending districts. And we won't accuse you of under budgeting, but nonetheless.
well, that's exactly what happens, and then we're told, send the money back, right?
Eventually.
The point is, it should be comprehended and reported to the sending districts.
You're right,
And
Understand.
underspending.
it reduces the cost of the bill next year to the sending district. So,
I guess that's my point, right, is that I don't know that it necessarily should just be sent.
absolutely should.
If you're bringing
My
in
point is,
additional
my
grant
point, I
money,
understand that. It's all well and good. And you're out there swinging as hard as you can to bring in the revenue to reduce the cost of the sending district. That's great. It should be comprehended. But at the end of the day, and again, I have another point, but at the end of the day, you want to keep the cost low to the sending district. However that can happen.
well, I think that would be a budget discussion each year. All I'm asking for is that it not be put in fund balance as unassigned. It should be in an account assigned.
As long
so
as we
that-
report it, we should figure out what to do with it, but it
I'm
should
just
be
gonna have to
comprehended.
follow the rules. You know, if it's Fund 10 and it's general fund revenue, it's general fund revenue.
There isn't a
But you
rule
can
that says where
certainly
you
keep
have to
track
put the
of
money.
Where it's coming from.
right? What I'm saying is that we would create an account to put the
Not
money
till
in.
we're done with the audit. Not till the audit is done, do you then transfer money around.
The audit is a completely different topic. We're not talking about that. We're talking about additional
I know
unplanned
exactly what
revenue
you're
that
talking
we're bringing in.
You're talking about putting the fund aside so you use it for whatever you want.
I'm not even going to be here. I'm talking about creating a fund where you keep track of that additional money that's coming in rather than putting it in an unassigned.
It's not.
Well, we agree on comprehending and understanding
Time
what,
is
how
keeping
it's,
track of stuff. It's all.
how it's parsed out is up for debate. And the only other thing that I want to say with leases, it's great, another revenue unused space, as long as the space is not used. When mine, we're cannibalizing our cafeteria for classroom space. And we don't want to get into a long-term lease situation where, you know what, we need more space and we don't have it. So, you know, again.
This is all evening
This
space.
is
It's
all
in the
at night.
evening.
I understand the point. The utilization of the building is at best 50%. 10 hours a day.
But I
again,
also,
just be careful.
I'll make sure there's some exit language. Because it's not gonna be the sort of thing where you need it the next day. Don't just make sure there's exit language.
So far, none of the leases are long-term
Right.
that are being proposed here,
I'm just
so,
saying we need to be
yeah.
cognizant of it.
We'd like to thank Kim and the instructors for the cosmetology to work with that, because we're education, but we're also workforce professionals, and we're here to serve the overall community. We know that these programs help the tax base. Representative Stats, in addition to ABC, has been very helpful in bringing us together with the community college. Kim is willing to do this at night And we believe that that $20,000 lease can increase with more students. The other thing that the college has the ability to do is through Newsoma, that marketing firm, there's a program that's called the Aim and Attain program for students that started but didn't finish a degree or credential program. We're looking to see if they could take this program for free. And the the Aim and Attain program is only for Bucks County Community College, Del Val, Holy Family, Penco Tech. So if we had former students that started and didn't finish, what a wonderful opportunity for them to get an esthetician program, life-sustaining wages, et cetera. Kim, do you want to say anything about the program? You're very instrumental in it.
Donna Kern, who I'm working with Bucks County Community College, they're looking into some of that as well. Just to see if I don't know all the ins and outs of that particular one, but everybody's kind of looking at that to see what we can do to help some of our kids that didn't finish or help other adults who didn't get to finish a program for whatever and like go into a different area and come out with an aesthetics license.
So I didn't necessarily think that this was gonna happen during finance, but I'll say my real quick comment. I got a real quick one. One thing that, when we had our adult education program before, it lost money and ultimately failed because we couldn't keep, supporting that. These programs with these outside agencies, I mean, ABC is a little bit different, but with potentially working with Bucks and Del Val, is they have a mechanism to do financial aid that we didn't have before. So if adults want to come into classes here and they couldn't afford to pay for it, we couldn't take them before. Now they can go through the financial aid department at Bucks and get student loans or get grants and get things that we couldn't offer. So these programs should be even more desirable in the future because of that.
Right. Agreed. And the vet tech is the next thing. Tomorrow, Mr. Hallowell, myself, Dr. Diamond, Mr. Krug are going to the community college, and they're very interested in renting, leasing space in the vet tech program. Is Caitlin here? They have a tremendous advisory committee, which they're so excited about. And if that provides our students the opportunity to get the vet tech at the end of the school day, if that allows students that are sitting in descending schools that don't have a career pathway as a senior, that may not want to concur the student loan debt and get into these programs, to get a guaranteed certificate, to vet tech, to get on that career ladder, what a wonderful opportunity. So we're super excited about that.
Yeah.
Jim, do you want to say anything?
I think we're still in the finance committee though. Maybe we should save these for your update.
No, this is program. I switched the program.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay, we're in programs now. All right, good. All right.
Roll right into it. No, I'm excited to see what they come up with, and I'm really interested to see what kind of programs.
And we're gonna be leading the way, and the history from Dr. Diamond starting our program and going into the Peace Corps in the 1960s to Mr. Krug's involvement. I couldn't ask for better partners in the world. So the world-class Mr. Hallowell, with his knowledge, et cetera, we're gonna do great things with this program. Quakertown Vet came out, they were just so excited, and all the vets in the area. So looking forward to great things with that. We mentioned the Ag and Youth Grant to decrease the cost of the sending school districts to get some of the grant money. Mr. Krug is looking at USDA's money and the Bucks County Workforce and Economic Development. We're searching all of these opportunities for the students. Record enrollment, and I'll finish. For everyone that's here for the board meeting, I'll be very brief with a few minutes. Our enrollment this year is 915 students. You can see from 2018, 723, the progression, 22 to 23 went to 867. We're at 915 right now. There could be more right currently because of scheduling conflicts. Quakertown has said we're not going to send any students, so that's on hiatus.
So wait, the other two sending districts will still send students if they register, but not Quakertown?
Currently, yes.
Was there a reason given for that?
According to the guidance counselors, the reason was that the afternoon academic classes at Quakertown High School are oversubscribed already. So this would be for new students coming in. They wouldn't be able to flex their schedule.
So wait a minute, if they're full over there
Yes.
now, wouldn't it make it easier for them to? Yeah, to be here because that would take them out of there if they're overscheduled
I
there?
think the issue is that if they have a math class and an English class in the morning,
Oh.
and they
I-
were to enroll here, those math and English classes would have to be pushed to the afternoon where they're already oversubscribed.
Unless they come in here for the afternoon.
Generally, our first year students come in the morning.
Generally, but they
Generally.
we can work out, I mean, this is what I don't wanna see though, is that, you know, if the other school districts are offering this, and is this something even when you were down at your other school, the sending districts would place students after the start of the school year,
We generally had a hiatus starting October first.
starting
So
October
at-
1st?
On October first, enrollment was pretty stable. And then at the start of the second semester, you would see some switches. Kids
Okay.
dropping, kids enrolling, but it got pretty quiet between October first and the end of January.
Because, I mean, I have heard it in the past, the reluctance to rework student schedules in Quakertown, and that's always been, you know, a Quakertown specific problem here, that nobody wanted to ever change anybody's schedule. It was like carved in stone on your first day of school. And, you know, I don't necessarily see that as the tech school's problem or want to penalize a student if they wanted to come here because our administration didn't want to change anyone's schedule.
In this case, they're full though.
Dr.
Well-
Carr, what was when did,
They're full.
what was the cut date?
The cut date, for when
Did they have a cut date? Like, was there a specific cut date that they're using?
No, we don't have that. We were pulling the application.
And it seems like it would be student specific. I mean, I doubt every single class for every single student. I would think that it would be a discussion, not like a hard cut, no one's allowed to come. How does that affect the waiting lists? So if you're a kid who signed up for a class and you've wanted that class since last year, right? And there's now an opening in that class, you're saying that here, like let's say you wanted to get into mechatronics and mechatronics was full, so you were on a waiting list for mechatronics. And it turns out the beginning of the year, someone had dropped, someone didn't show up or whatever, and now there's an opening in mechatronics. If we have kids who've been waiting on that waiting list, committed, wanted to be in that class since last year, are those kids still allowed to come, or are we turning those kids down? Because then what's the point of a waiting list if we won't let kids in?
We take that in consideration when Kathy, we meet,
I
if
think he
someone's
was saying
applied
just
multiple
Quakertown,
times
stop sending
in
kids.
Penridge, because then that's taken into consideration, Kathy, would you say?
It
Just-
has been,
yes.
yes. Well, I guess what I'm saying is with this whole, they can't come, does that include waiting list kids or is this new kids?
I think it's just Quakertown
It's
kids.
off the waiting list, yes.
So kids from so if you're on the waiting list, do those kids even know they're being turned down? Are they being contacted? Hey, there's an opening, but we're not letting you have it?
The guidance counselors are reaching out. However, most of the kids who are waitlisted, we have a fair amount of kids who are in their second choice program. And so it's an internal transfer. So they may have gotten their second choice. They're still on the wait list for their first choice. And so we can handle that.
So
as
we don't
simple
have any kids
transfer.
who are waitlisted who aren't here.
I will absolutely follow up with Morgan, but I don't want to answer that question without knowing the current status of those waitlist kids. But I have seen a lot of internal transfers.
But I think my question is, Quakertown just said, no, we're not sending any more kids. And that's
Well,
the
I
issue
just-
I'm
I just
having.
think, I just,
Whereas
look,
Penn Ridge, you'll still
we're gonna-
send somebody if they wanted to come, correct? If they were on a waiting list. And Palisades, I would assume is the same.
I don't know, but it seems reasonable to assume that anybody that was approved over the summer would be here.
If a spot opened up.
Well, somebody's been sending somebody because there's 900 and.
They're getting here.
Come on.
Dr. Barrera, I just want to make sure that communication on our end is happening. So if there are spots open on the waiting list and there's there's a list of kids, I don't care which sending district they're from, I'm sure there's a priority list of kids in order who are on a wait list for a program who aren't here. Can we have a letter that gets sent out to parents to say, hey, a spot opened in this program? And then it's up to the sending district whether they come or not, but we need to be communicating to parents that there's an opening. We can't just not, like, we put them on a waiting list and we can't, they have a right to that information, to know that a spot was opened up, it's available to them. And that's between them and their sending district if they want that spot and can work that into their schedules. Can we make sure that those communications go out to those families?
I would check first and make sure that there's not a base program that's full that makes that not possible.
No, I'm only talking about ones where there's openings. I'm not talking about sending a letter out to someone where there isn't a spot. I'm only saying where there's a spot. If there's a spot and you were in line for that spot, you should get a letter that says that spot's
In a case
available.
like that, what I would do is try to figure out exactly what the issue is with guidance counselor.
My concern is parents have a right to know if there's a
I'm
spot
not-
open
I'm
for
not
their kids,
questioning
and
that
I
for
want to make sure that
us,
communication is happening.
But you have to understand what the facts are behind why a student can't come. Should present, facts or work them through.
Right, if a student, if it can't be worked out in a student's schedule, then that should be communicated to that family, and then the family can say, okay, I understand, that can't be worked out in my schedule, but they should be involved in that communication process, that's my point.
That should be the job of the counselors.
No, when we have a wait list and there's an opening here, that communication should go to the family of the kid that's on the wait list. That should be our communications. It's our wait list.
Because those kids
Well, that's
registered
fine.
through
Yeah,
our,
absolutely fine.
Know who those kids are.
It's been ongoing because we'll communicate, but I think what your point is, if a student and parent knows that they need to be aware that we do have a stop spot for them, but there's issues because of their schedule back at the sending school that they can't attend. If that's okay with the board, then we'll let them
Yes,
know.
but
I agree. And listen, if this, I don't want Quakertown's understaffing problem be the bottleneck that prevents a student from coming here later.
Where do you get that back from?
You just said, well, he said, but you're reiterating that there's no room in the sending district for those students to take their math and English guys. That means we're short-staffed, we're not hiring enough people, and according to Dr. Harner, we were supposed to be swimming in space because half of both our last two ninth grade classes aren't in the high school.
So I don't want to weigh in on the logistics of what's going on or isn't going on in Quakertown. I know you guys will have this conversation. I just want to make sure that from a tech school standpoint, that we are communicating to families, this spot is open, whether or not you can or can't get into that spot, that's a conversation in your sending district, and they can work that out or not work that out and let you know. I just want to make sure we're doing our due diligence.
I just emailed Morgan and asked her to outline the process that she follows and specifically answer all the parties that she communicates with. So as soon as I get that, I'll be happy to pass along.
And as a parent, if a spot had opened up for my kid and then decisions were made that my kid couldn't come and I wasn't even involved in the conversation, I would be upset as a parent that I didn't even have a seat at the table in the conversation, that's all.
And Mike,
During our,
expedite this, just because right now, we can't wait until the next JOC meeting, which will be third week in October.
Mhm.
Because if we have students on the waiting list and they can get in here, we want to make sure that they can get in right away. Could you please, when you get that information, send it
I
out
think
to
he
the
said
whole
he's gonna send,
JOC?
he's gonna send the letters, so the letters go,
Yeah,
and then they can communicate
Well,
with the sending district.
she
about
said she'll
that.
send us Morgan's whole procedure, how
Right,
that
there
works.
could be communication going to the families. I just don't know if that's phone
Yeah.
calls, emails, what
Okay,
that.
so if there isn't communication, you'll send a
Yeah.
letter. Perfect, thank you.
During the hearings, we talked about student and parents, aspirations, and I think that falls underneath that, they believe that this is a true pathway to economic success, and so I think that's duly noted that they should be aware of this.
How many of these, 900, whatever, how many are ninth graders?
Stacy will get that information. We do have a complete breakdown. But one of the concerns with the admissions process and standards that we were going to keep students from attending. As of right now, Karen Freed did a wonderful job, but we have 258 of our students have an IEP, 75 have a 504, 25 are EL. So those percentages equal close to 40%. We're still getting some of those, the data. As you know from last month, we really focus on universal design for learning. I was asked to present at the Integrated Learning Conference from the state, who's putting that on, and potentially at the national conference, because we really want to be able to support our special populations. We do a wonderful job. We have 3 special ed specialists that support the students. We're working with the districts that may have up to, per school, 27 case managers to work with those students. So we've met and we're really trying to engage and increase that communication. Some of those case managers could be just starting, et cetera. So again, we really want to make sure that we support, and let's face it, Tutor on Horn, we do a wonderful job with the special ed IEP 504 population. We'll continue to do that.
And that about approximately 40% number is consistent with what we've seen over time. That's
Maybe a little higher than the last couple of years.
It's usually been about 40%.
It's a little higher.
We
Yes.
know how that compares with, other tech schools. Are we higher?
Stacy, that little bit.
Yeah, we're not an anomaly.
We're not.
We're not. It's pretty consistent.
So I know Quakertown's number there is about 18%. I don't know where you guys are,
Yeah, and I think just to highlight, as far as the admissions process, the primary factor for admission is interest.
Interest and
Students-
aptitude, yes. And if I could we have the middle school presentations. Palisades is sending all of their students. Penn Ridge is sending all of their students, and here's the dates. Quakertown right now are taking students that are signed up. So on October 10th, we're going to do a presentation. And if they sign up, they're going to come on the tour.
So wait a minute, sorry to interrupt you again. This was kind of left over from last year too. Quakertown always used to send all of their 8th graders here. Again, why are they only sending students that signed up? That's kind of pointless because those kids already decided they want to come here. The purpose for this tour is to let them see the place and decide if they want to sign up here. So
Stacy, did you? I think that's a
Yeah,
great question.
no, I know it's a Quakertown question, but we have a Quakertown board meeting next week and I'm gonna have to bring all this stuff up there.
The entire 8th grade does come to the presentation, so they all have the opportunity to learn more about the school. And from that, they have students sign up. So from my understanding, there isn't a cap that's put on how many kids can sign up. But-
Oh, sign up to come here.
Yes.
Okay, when he said sign up, I thought that they were already registered to come to the, all right, they're already signing up for.
But one of the
I got
things
you.
that we put some premium on is if they toured, because if someone doesn't go on the tour, right, because we looked at interest on that, then they could be, so we just want to make sure that all the districts have good career counseling plans. They know that it's a wonderful, whether they come here or not, it's a wonderful opportunity to see that. And when it comes down to it, we say, did you visit? Because if students don't visit, they're not going to get the full points on the application. I just want to make sure.
So that
everyone's
helps
aware of that.
in their registration if they attend the tour.
Yes.
And so last year was the first year Quakertown did it this way, where they had pre-signups to come and didn't just bring their entire 8th grade class. Did you notice a significant drop off in the amount of students that toured?
I don't have that, but we're appreciative. Quakertown sends a lot of students, so we just want to make sure that CTE options are available to all students, that they come and visit, and just keeping everyone aware of that.
Yeah, okay. No, I'm trying to stay on top and make sure that's all happening too. Because there was some leftover things from a year ago that I just didn't want to follow, this is how we're doing it now. It started a year ago.
And I think everyone that's here, and that's the program which we rolled in, and You want to start the regular board meeting?
Yes, I'm ready. As long as Adrian, are you gonna even put a break in?
Oh, were we doing the policy meeting
We're gonna maybe,
or you?
wanna look at that for time frame.
And when you say hold off on that, you mean hold off on that until next month?
There's nothing out of order except 6:04. No, wait. Just want to double check.
Okay, so for the committee this month, we had 625, 702, 703, 705. 625 was procurement cards, which is new. We were asked by the JOC to prioritize that. In the past, there was some amounts that were high. We determined those amounts were because of Amazon purchases. And we have some regulations on that. We're reviewing internal protocols, working with PASBO, et cetera. That was a question. 702, 703, 704, and 705 were sent out. In terms of facility and workplace, we know that that's very important to us at the tech school. So we put together a hazardous materials and CT program that went through our safety committee
That's
for the
where,
first reading.
where are we?
None of this is on here.
No, I mean, are you doing your executive director report?
No,
or
this is
you-
still policy.
You are doing policy. Okay, I wasn't sure. Okay.
It seemed like just everyone. And then finally, we have a new, so as those policies are being developed, we have a new safety committee bylaws, et cetera. We lead the way in that. We have a new co-chair, et cetera. So I just wanted to inform the board, even though we have the new policies and you're looking at that closely, we're making sure that there's no gaps when it comes to essential items like safety that we're falling behind.
These are not up to first read or anything. This is just, there's no changes to these policies.
There's minor.
No, there's changes, yeah.
There's a new policy for procurement cards
When are we gonna have the first read?
next month.
Okay.
Yeah, this kind of gives Cora a chance to catch up too, since she's new on here. So, so we won't hold anything for,
Although she's already on top of our timing.
yeah, sorry about that. All right, so if we want to move on to the regular meeting now, it is 7:33. We're half an hour late. We are ready to go?
Mhm.
Okay, so let me at least bring my computer up. Okay, so we will start the meeting now at 7:33 for September 21st, 2023, regular board meeting. Ms. Cram, can we have a roll call, please?
It's in a different order.
It's in a different order. I'm reading the agenda here.
It says roll call and then salute the flag. I don't know why. No, regular.
No, it's just split. Wow. yours is- No, yours is right. Look, number one, number two.
Let's just salute the flag.
All right, we'll
first.
salute the flag.
There you go.
All right.
To the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, now Tracy's ready.
Here,
Here,
Landis, here. Candace Clemens,
Here.
Mr. Cormack,
Here.
Mr. Hallowell,
I am here.
Dr. Ott,
Here.
Mr. Shino.
Here.
I can see your in Zoom.
Adrian, she's on Zoom, yeah.
All right, can you hear me? I'm trying to, I'm here.
Oh, I heard I'm here.
Okay, thank you.
Farmer,
Here.
Mr. Rice.
Okay. We have 9 members attending, and The next item on the agenda is recognition and comments from the audience on agenda items. Is there anybody here that wants to make a public comment on agenda items? Is there anybody on Zoom? Don't see any. So we will move on to the announcement of an executive session if needed. Mr. Khan.
We are having an executive session after this meeting to discuss litigation.
Okay, what Mr. Khan said is what we'll be doing. And we'll move on to the executive director's report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Spear. Let's start off with a student of the month, and if we could ask Doug Yandora to come on up. We appreciate it. Stacy, would you join us? And Lisa, please. Congratulations, Doug. And congratulations.
Definitely, Adam, please come up also. Work them up too, come on up. Yep, got it, yep. So, yeah, just stand there. So our first student of the month is Mr. Doug Yandora. Doug is a senior in our HVAC program from Penridge School District. He has demonstrated dedication and tremendous growth and in maturity since he embarked on this co-op journey with Hannaberry HVAC, where he has been a valuable team member since November of 2022. Doug has shown flexibility and commitment to his future by switching to cyber learning for his academic coursework. This enables him to focus extensively on his co-op program during prime hours and hone his new construction, retrofits, and servicing skills. Working with ductwork, Doug has impressed his supervisors with his eagerness to learn and admirable work. We have received glowing reviews of Doug's performance and have been informed by Hannaberry that they have long-term goals for him, indicative of his significant potential in the HVAC industry. In addition to his work commitments, Doug is an outstanding student who has achieved first honors recognition. He's ready to compete in this year's HVAC Skills USA competition with aspirations to showcase his talents. Besides his professional and academic pursuits, Doug is known for his helpful yet sarcastic nature.
Mr. Henry, come on up.
I'm sorry. He is always ready to guide and support first and second year students in the morning at the HVAC class, although he definitely will also help put them in their place. His passion for HVAC is quite evident, and his journey thus far has been nothing short of inspirational. Doug is a diligent student, worker, a remarkable individual. He is always polite, willing to assist, and a pleasure to converse with, showcasing the makings of a true leader in his field. Outside of his professional commitments, Doug has been instrumental in bringing a positive atmosphere wherever he goes, a testament to his well-rounded personality, thanks to his mom. We have no doubt that Doug is an asset to our HVAC program and a shining beacon of what dedication and hard work can achieve. Congratulations, Doug.
Yeah.
So we'd also like to recognize Mr. Henry. We went a year to be able to find technical teachers. It was difficult. He was a gem, grew up in Penridge. We're going to read his bio, but like that, yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Henry is a proud graduate of the auto tech class at Upper Bucks County Tech School. He attended Universal Tech in Chicago to further his education. He worked for a dealership for 15 years, training new hires. He promoted a positive culture, offering support and setting achievable goals. Now he's doing that with his classes. So it's the same thing. Mr. Henry changed career paths when he started working for Schollers, electrical mechanical contractors 7 years ago, family business. What's the motto?
If you understand the physics of a steam engine, you understand the process of refrigeration.
So valuable on-the-job training, and he's just been great. And so a lot of times you say, we want to get someone experienced, because it's difficult. It takes 10,000 hours for a teacher to learn the teaching component from trade. But since Mike's arrived, they said, we got to just find people like Mike, get someone new, and he's just jumped right in. And it's been a change in mindset. And so his students, and Mrs. Walk could testify to this, but Hannaberry, Cooper Mechanical, NRG Mechanical, those students have all been successful. And that's a testament to the board, testament to our substitutes that filled in when we didn't have someone.
Well, Doug, were you helping when we didn't have somebody? Helping the young students?
At the time, that was sophomore year and like beginning of my junior year. Sophomore year was rough because the kids kind of
Ruled the class?
They just didn't really not make an effort, but they just didn't know what they wanted to do and they had nobody to guide them. But now with Mr. Henry here, it's a lot better. You can really tell the kids want to learn. I mean, not all of them are that way, but for a good chunk of them.
But, so here's a good story, and that's a perfect segue. So purpose and passion, and Lisa's going to share the story. She visits, and you can mention the name or not, but do you want to share that one story of a student that was close to dropping out?
Definitely. So we had a HVAC student last year that was like a half a step away from dropping out. And we kind of changed roles a little bit and got him to stay. This was, I think, maybe like March or April. So he was so close. And he had a little bit of a rough home life. And I think that was attributing to some things. But we kind of sat down and persevered. He called me again last night. He calls me all the time.
What did he say to you?
And he says, make sure you tell Mr. Henry, I wish I would have taken things more seriously, because I know that he's really here for the right reasons.
But he went from, please take your OSHA 10 to, I took the OSHA 30, and I'm going to help get another student in the school a job. He's a big asset. So we do change lives, students' lives around, and we thank the board for all your support. At the end of the day, that's what it's about, right?
Definitely. And I'd also like to introduce Adam Laubach. He is the Hannaberry HVAC supervisor. So a little bit about Adam. He's been employed at Hannaberry HVAC for over 35 years. He started with Hannaberry through the co-op program at LCTI in 1987. He graduated high school in 1988 and started full-time employment as an installer at Hannaberry HVAC. Throughout his career at Hannaberry, he's worked his way through many roles that including the install crew leader, install supervisor, and sales. He now serves as the installation manager for Hannaberry. Adam.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you for the invite to come to talk, and the co-op program, not only at this school, we're kind of, Hannaberry's newer to this school to get into this. We look to try and jump in here 2020. We all know what happened, and things really changed that, and then we got the opportunity to get in here. And just with trying to hire people with skilled labor skills is difficult. So kind of leaning on the co-op program and the VOTEC schools is huge, and perfect opportunity right here. I mean, Doug's nailed it. He's got big opportunities ahead of him, for sure. As we met in 2022, sat down for an interview, I could tell right away, good kid. Got him started. He was with our new construction department. And about a week or so into it, I heard great things. Eager to learn, not on his phone. He's invested in what he wants to learn. Things started to slow up with our new construction. We moved him over into what we call our retrofit department, was doing change outs and things at existing homes. More of the good stuff keeps coming. His work is thorough, neat, clean. He's invested. He's asking the questions. He's awesome. To the point that with our service manager, we had some opportunities where we could get him with some service technicians. So he went out doing maintenance calls, problem calls, that kind of stuff, being a set of hands. He was engaged with all those guys. So much so that after the first day he was out with the service tech, the service manager comes to me into my office and he's like, we got to keep this kid. He's awesome. So, you know, it just goes to show the co-op program really works great. You know, and Doug, you're one hell of a kid.
I appreciate it.
No, it's all you. I mean, it's all you. We're just giving you the opportunities and you're proving yourself for sure.
Do you like doing the refrigeration or the duct work?
I like the, yeah, I like the refrigeration. I feel like it's harder.
Yeah,
and-
with the new construction, you know, you're more so doing just the duct work and installing it into a house that's being built. You don't have as much time as where you're working on the equipment. So as we moved them over, as things slowed up, we moved them into the retrofit end of it. You know, those departments, those crews, they're touching equipment every day. He likes it. He told me it's, I really like this. You know, yeah, that's where all the technical stuff is, you know, and he's eager to learn all of that stuff. So
I'll ask a question, but don't answer it because I'll probably get us all in trouble. If you have two redundant chillers that are sharing a refrigerator line, in our facilities meeting, we just had a discussion that we have a 3-year-old chiller that they want to throw in the trash because they only replaced one of them and not both.
oh, I know nothing about children.
Condenser.
Now, it's two condensers, and they said you have to replace both at the same time, and one was just replaced 2 years ago. And so that was the big debate of the facilities meeting about whether or not we have to replace a 2-year-old condenser because we have to replace the second condenser. That was
It's probably true because the efficiency changes, which just came about a few months ago.
efficiency changes from a few months ago.
Yeah, there's.
I think it's probably a longer conversation.
Yeah.
Yes, I said, don't answer that.
Sorry.
Mike, do you have anything to say?
I wish more of my students were like Doug. He's a great student. He's been enacting peer-to-peer learning, which has been great. It's getting a lot of the lower classmen involved, but thank you for the opportunity. It's been an awesome experience to see these guys grow up.
Thanks to Mr. Henry, Adam, and Ms. Walk, because without you guys, none of this would really be possible. And oh, yeah. But I didn't know what I wanted to do after high school, and this kind of really solidified it. So I just wanted to say thanks to all you guys.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. Love it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry.
Congratulations, great job. And Mr. Henry, you know, the huge turnaround, you know, in that program is monumental, and it's because of you. So thank you for all you're doing there. I know that it was really a struggle, and they really needed some leadership in there, and you were exactly what they needed. And all the recruitment and Dr. Herrera finds the perfect person in our backyard. So
Yeah.
So great job for finding him, and thank you for being here. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Okay, our next student of the month is Eric Foster. Eric, you want to come forward and? No, I'm on the end.
Nice try.
Our second September student of the month is Eric Fossbender. Eric is a senior in the culinary arts program and a senior at Quakertown, correct? Eric is an exemplary student who has demonstrated a remarkable commitment to his craft, consistently pushing boundaries in the culinary field. Not only has he secured an impressive role at the Rock Hill Filling Station since September 2022, which has the best breakfast in the world, but he has also received the outstanding level 1 and 2 awards in culinary. Eric has been holding the critical position of a line cook at Rock Hill Filling Station in Percy, where his responsibilities range from food preparation to general housekeeping and stocking as required. He has mastered these roles and moved ahead to create and prepare specials at the establishment, proving his innovation and dedication in the culinary field. At school, Eric is known for his pleasant personality and quiet demeanor. He takes his responsibilities very seriously, always aiming to excel in whatever he undertakes. Eric is eager to learn and open to new ideas and possesses maturity beyond his years. His passion for the culinary arts saw him competing fiercely at the Skills USA culinary competition, where his hard work and dedication were evident. Eric managed to earn a spot in the national competition held in Atlanta, showcasing his exceptional talent on a grand stage, where he proudly secured the 8th position out of 43 competitors in the country. Congratulations, that's commendable. Thank you. Not resting on his laurels, Eric is keen to compete again this year with his sights set even higher. John Greenwood, Eric's employer at the Rock Hill Filling Station, has been instrumental in helping him prepare for the national competition. Having Eric as part of our team has been nothing short of a pleasure. His dedication and a keen eye for culinary arts are evident in the wonderful dishes he prepares. Seeing such a young individual with so much passion and skill is heartwarming. I have had the privilege to mentor Eric and witness his growth firsthand. His journey so far in the culinary world is just the beginning, and I have no doubt that he is set for great heights. I look forward to seeing all of the remarkable achievements I know he is capable of. Eric harbors other interests beyond his culinary pursuits, further showcasing his diverse skill set and dedication in all his endeavors. His journey and growth in the culinary field have been nothing short of inspiring, and he deserves the honor of being Student of the Month. Congratulations, Eric. Your hard work, innovation, and perseverance in the culinary field make you a standout student and a worthy recipient of this award. We look forward to witnessing all of the outstanding accomplishments the future holds for you.
And to help John, you're preparing for your nationals this year too. Make sure you do another one of those dinners with the whole family. That was pretty fantastic.
We're already working on that.
Yeah.
We're very happy to be part of your practice run. Great.
Amber and I had the privilege of accompanying Eric, and let's just say all of a sudden there was a lot of racks, and we were like, uh-oh, we need racks. And Amber, I was pouring rain, 20 minutes later, I don't know, no one's asking her how, but she found this rack, pulling it in, soaking wet, and you'll see over and over again the teamwork from administration, school tour, instructors, the JOC who supported that, was able to send us. And the students are coming back saying, we want to compete. But Amber, kudos to you and John. I get the countless hours and the mentorship that you provided. And you're also a proud graduate of Upper Bucks County Tech School, proud graduate of Bucks County Community College and the apprenticeship program. We're looking to move forward as another innovative model program. Larry, you want to just do a quick?
Yeah, we kind of tied in. We're now members of the Pennsylvania Restaurant and Lodging Association. So all the students become members as a student member for free. So it's great for the resume. But I went to a conference over the summer, and Pennsylvania is going to be the 5th state in the nation to be a part of this registered youth restaurant apprenticeship program. So Eric is the first one for our class signed up, and John is the first employer signed up. So that's just the tip of the iceberg. So it's going to be kind of cool. They spend X amount of hours and they earn their certified line cook certification through the National Restaurant Association.
That's really cool. Now, John and Eric, I've been to the Rockville filling station now 3 times. As of last year, I haven't been there at all. So I was there for camel, alligator, and python. Is preparing these like exotic dishes, do you get to help with that? Do you get to, do you get to like throw a snake down on a table?
Definitely. I have actually pictures of me holding an alligator like this in my hand. A full alligator that we got to learn all together. John and I, we had never done it before, how to fabricate a whole alligator. So that's always a lot of new and interesting experiences, especially just working there. I mean, you never expect it out of a family diner, but the amount of information and skills that I gained from just working there, astronomical.
Yeah. It was very good each time I went to.
I gotta say, I have a biased opinion, but I still recommend the Megan melt. Still my favorite. Still my favorite, always gonna be my favorite. Congratulations, great job. Thank you for representing us so well. Thank you so much for all the support that you give to our kids here. And thank you both for all of your work here. We're really looking forward to everything you guys are gonna accomplish now that you have the space to do so. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Just want to say Eric is an amazing student. You know, really easy to teach and really has a good attitude towards work and teaching other kids that are coming in, that are starting to learn and stuff like that. And he's not, it's just really easy to work with, you know. So.
And that goes for you too, John.
Yeah.
As far as co-op is concerned, John makes everything very easy and accessible, and the whole, everything is just an ease working with John and Larry and Amber. And of course, sometimes I have to chase you for paperwork, but.
Now, I would assume you're scheduling your visits to his place around lunchtimes or breakfast times.
Usually breakfast.
Thank you all again.
Can I just add two things? One, I've been doing this for 29 years, and Eric's probably one of the most focused, humbled students that I've ever worked with. As for John, he's incredible to Amber and I for what he's done for our program. He's our OAC chair. He was co-chair for the renovation. So, John, thank you for everything.
HIOC John also gave a generous monetary donation to send our instructors too.
Yes.
So we appreciate that.
Very nice pictures, because he didn't tell his mom he got this award.
Wait. How about a few words from you, young man? Oh.
Thank you for the award. I definitely would not have been able to be here and say that I've accomplished the things that I've accomplished without the instructors and my boss, who has made all the opportunities that I've been given available, from Skills USA and just, so thank you.
Thank you.
Amber, that diner in Atlanta called and they want their rack back.
Restaurant equipment, and I walked to a not so nice area in town to get that wrap.
Okay, continuing with my report. This is a walk left, but I just want to remind everyone that we are in the second phase of the school to work challenge. Going through, we meet once a month. We will get $10,000 at the completion. We're one of the top 100 schools in the country. And once we get, they'll pick 10 schools and we're eligible up to 150,000. So we continually find ways for internships, job shadows, etc. And the community that we have here is incredible. So I was walking down the hallway, exercise science. I called Brian Gilbert up, Scott Hagan from Penn Ridge, they're on speed dial. How do we get our students year 2 of the exercise science program opportunities as assistant athletic trainers, strength coach, etc. Lehigh Valley Health Network came involved. The athletic trainers, knowing that there's a gap, we're in the process of finalizing that to have our students in middle school and high school giving back. These are unpaid, but what a wonderful opportunity. And I thank all the organizations and the school districts for helping us with that. The benefit from that, I heard one of their golf carts wasn't working at Penn Ridge, so they're going to be dropping it off. Bill, did they make an appointment yet?
Yeah, they're on the list.
And so we're gonna help get their golf cart fixed, and the trainers, just very impressed. And that's what's great about the school here in the community. We just constantly just look out for each other. I had the privilege of being appointed to the ACTE Region Bylaws Committee, representing 16 states. So that recognition allows Upper Bucks County Technical School to really have a big say in workforce development and career tech ed on a national level. So I'm thankful to be part of that. Subaru on the donation report tonight through Mr. Shrinko. Last month was Toyota. We have a 2020 Subaru Accent and the 2021 Subaru Legacy, estimated value at $60,000 for the donation. Sorry, that's the wrong one. But Bromley Manufacturing is giving us $1,000. They just hired a couple of our students last year. Chick-fil-A and Elizabeth Dinlocker in memory of Mr. Mike McCacken for the a recent legacy ride, a longtime supporter of UBCTS. Delaware Valley University, George, Mr. Dietrich. We recently, I'd like George talk.
So in the last 4 years, I've been doing a lot of professional development trainings over the summer with the support of Mike and Stacy here. And through that, we're now able to offer a very, very great articulation agreement with Delaware Valley University. It is upwards to 17 credits by the time they get through their 3rd year in the program, and with more possibility coming in the way. 17 credits, that's a whole semester's worth of college of courses, and that is for Del Val, that is over $20,000 that they are saving. That then is money that then can stay here in the communities instead of having to go down to Del Val and get paid for the tuition. And so it's a really great opportunity, and I really just want to thank Mike, Stacy, and the board for kind of helping get this all together and get this through.
3 years ago, we had the landscaping program. It was very under-enrolled. We said we needed to increase rigor, brought over the CASE program. Those students are successful at Del Val. The school to work placements being handed. The next group of students are, reaching that bar that they set. And it's wonderful. And George, not resting on his laurels, is also always willing to give students more opportunities, food science, and also biotech. So the president, Benjamin Rosolowski, and Gloria, the provost, vice president for academic affairs, will be touring here on September 29th. I mentioned it to the superintendents in case they wanted to attend or send some representatives. Del Val is a beautiful university right in our backyard, and we really want to cement even stronger relationships in more programs with them.
So Mr. Dietrich, you said that they get that 17 credits in 3 years. If you have a
3 years.
4-year, so do you start at year 2, 3, and 4, or?
No, they get it year 1, they get 6 credits already. That's with what I'm doing in the program.
So if you have a 4-year student, do they have the potential to even earn more? Is that what you're looking
There certainly is
into?
the potential. Right now, we have it set up for those all those courses get completed in the first 3 years, and we're looking to still for further expansion to present more articulation agreements with Del Val to try to see if we can get more than as well.
Yeah.
So right now we're at the 17, but I know with working with Stacy and Dr. Air, we're probably thinking another 3 to 6 more credits just by continue building the curriculum.
Dr. Speakman gave us a nice tour. He understood, and he's been a director of missions for a couple of universities, the foresight to recruit the technical students. So he, myself, Middle Bucks, and Bucks County Technical School went out there. And we're just looking to strengthen those relationships with the dual credit. We also have credits in graphic design, digital photography, and law enforcement with Del Val. One of my contacts received through Biorad a fellowship. Biotechnology is very emerging, especially in Bucks County. So through the fellowship, and George, you want to talk a little bit about this, about your emphasis on the biotech?
I mean, really what we're trying to do is just a great partnership opportunity to kind of provide more curriculum and more resources towards the students so that they can further explore the biotechnology field. I know there's certainly several biotechnology companies that employ students for co-op, and so we're really kind of hoping that by getting the students excited, we can see more of the students could get onto co-op as well.
Some of those companies are that they work for.
I know Lampire is one of them.
Lampire.
Mrs. Walk would have the full list.
MG, it's, okay. So we see that as a potential. Mr. Maricino is willing to work with the sending schools to develop that Bio-Rad free training, et cetera. So just a way, we're doing something similar with the CompTIA. And I think it's really, really beneficial. It's a good feeder program for us. Okay, and Mr. Young, right now, I feel I have to stand for this, but I'd like to recognize, and he's going to hate me for this, but Mr. Young for the program of the month. So Mr. Young began teaching small engines at LCTI, where he also attended as a student in small engines from 82 to 84. While in high school, he worked part-time at a local small engine shop during his junior year, and then was in co-op during his senior year. Not surprisingly, Mr. Young worked his way up to the ranks and became service manager to 2 different shops in the Lehigh Valley. In addition to his career success, Mr. Young is a family man who's found time to serve as a soccer coach and Boy Scout leader for his 2 sons. He credits his scouting experience for planting the seeds for him to become a teacher, and the rest is history. Planting the seeds would be better fit for George. Rather, lighting the ignition is probably a better term for small engine. Never rest on his laurels. Mr. Young came to Upper Box from LCTI, just like Mr. Puzzante did years ago. And he earned his bachelor degrees of science and education from Temple in 2017. He's also a certified co-op education coordinator. So if you remember, our co-op numbers were only around 60 a couple years ago. They went to 120. Mr. Young, Mr. Guest, and Mrs. Dios went after school, and they did a lot of those visits. So that allowed us not to have to get a second co-op instructor, and they were very, very efficient, and we appreciate them doing that immensely. So Mr. Young is now on year 10 and going strong. Enrollment's never an issue. We had 20 administrators that came from Pittsburgh, the western part of the state. They all said, we'll fly Mr. Young in, we'll drive him. How can we replicate his program area? And you're still getting calls from.
I got a call 2 days ago.
And they can't even believe because of the size. They're like, how does he do it? How does he run outdoor power equipment, marine, aviation, right? In that spot. And you see that there, and it's just because he's a master teacher and he gets that. At the Region 1 conference where we had 16 states, he presented with the Pittsburgh Institute of Aeronautics. He's partnered with different companies. His student won 2nd place in the country for motorcycle technology. And we go on and on and on, Mr. Young. But Mr. Young is also being acknowledged by Skills USA for his work, and he's going to receive the Torch of Knowledge Award. And that is going to be on October 18th. And if any of the board members are interested, we really want to go and really show our appreciation of Mr. Young. That's going to be in the morning from 7:45 to 9 at the Homeward Suites. So, Mr. Young, thank you for all that you do.
You're welcome.
And,
Homeward Suites in Quakertown?
No, it's in Center Valley.
Center Valley by the promenade.
Oh.
Yeah, good breakfast.
Yeah, now I got you.
So,
Now I remember which one it was.
Yeah.
so let's congratulate Mr. Yon for that.
It doesn't go without a lot of hard work, and those people that I work with know I'm here early and stay late. But, you know, it shows, you know, it doesn't come without a lot of hard work, but the rewards are there too. You know, we have a successful program. Of course, when I see my students' success year after year, you know, that's my payment. So, you know, it's a labor of love, I guess you would say, but we'll continue to do that. And I want to bring up one of my partners in crime, Greg Masters, our diesel instructor. We're going to segue right into, yep, another up and coming hero out there in the trenches.
Leaning on Mr. Young all the way.
So with that, and just as a mentor to everyone in the transportation and the school in general, working with our new teacher induction, Mr. Young's legacy is really entrenched in our school and beyond throughout the region.
Well, it was interesting when I came aboard at Upper Bucks, I was the young guy in the transportation wing, and now I'm the old guy in the transportation wing. I don't know how that happened, but we keep going. But anyway, I'd like to just share that with the JOC that Greg and I got the opportunity to go out to Kenosha, Wisconsin this summer. Kubota Tractors is one of the first manufacturers that is realizing there's things that they can do to help fix the shortage of skilled technicians, especially in their dealership. So we're very fortunate. We have 3 Kubota dealers, large dealers within 25 miles. And so Kubota has developed a program that partners with tech schools and a program like Greg or mine or both. And it allows a student to receive factory training that can segue right into a co-op or internship position where they eventually graduate and work full-time and be dealerships, then come back and are on our advisory committee, and it's just win, win, win. So what we have up there, who's advancing slides here? Mike, okay, good. So the Kubota program requires that we purchase 3 pieces of their equipment, but they've developed curriculum. So it's a package, it's a turnkey package where you buy the equipment, which is diesel equipment, that's where Greg comes in. But it has hydraulics, it's fantastic, which we can use that equipment any way we want. So we could share it with George, we can share it with maintenance, we can use this equipment, which is a beautiful thing too. So it's not going to just sit there and be taken apart and put back together. It's actually working equipment. So it's a package deal that comes with online curriculum, lesson plans for Greg and I to use, and it's pretty neat. It's one of the first packages that I've seen. Their headquarters is down in Texas, and the gentleman that put this program together actually came up to our school, is that 2 years ago maybe? And he was very impressed. He's like, wow, this Pennsylvania, we don't have any schools that have Kubota programs in Pennsylvania. So he was super excited. And we've been working on this for 2-3 years. So next slide here, Mike. Some benefits here. The student, number one, of course, is the most important. Placement and career opportunities as Kubota techs. But this skill set that they're getting transfers into many other industries, construction industry. We have H&K in our backyard. They're calling me once a month. Hey, you have any good technicians?
We have a representative from H&K there.
I didn't even know you were here. Right?
That's not good.
Back me up, right? Yeah. Okay. But also, you know, the name brand is, you see a lot of orange tractors in the area. Employment, it's a nationwide network that my students would be able to tap into and get a job. So the student benefits are there. The school benefits, Kubota partnered with NC3. NC3 is a national organization that has some big names like Starrett, Snap-on Tools, 3M. They provide a national certification, and you know, PDE they love their certifications, and our student portfolios are just fantastic. It's a great thing, but they have to meet the high level. So there's NC3 certifications that we can offer as a school. Once we participate with that, it opens up the door, not just for Greg and I, but for every teacher in this school can tap into the NC3 suite of certifications. So it's a big school benefit. And we can actually participate in developing new certifications. We can join in on those panels and stuff. Next slide, Mike. And last but not least, the dealer benefits. So we have 3 local dealers, Kubota dealers, that are all looking for Greg's students and my students. And they're excited. They're more excited than I am about this program, because you can't do this program unless you have the dealers to support it. So it has to be full circle. Otherwise, Kubota says, well, sorry, you can't have it. But we have everything we need. And the school's been very easy to work with. We almost had it last year, but the timing wasn't quite right. So we're hoping maybe this year. But Greg and I went out to Wisconsin. You're going to see some pictures of us in action. Next slide, Mike. These are all the certifications. You recognize a lot of those names. Train, so that's our HVAC guy. Kubota's in there. Starrett's the best measuring company out there. 3M, Festo is woodworking. A lot of Dremel. Next slide, Mike. All right, so we went out for a week, Kenosha, Wisconsin, Snap-on tool capital, where the Snap-on tools are made as well. We got to see that. But we spent the whole week in a theory room doing what our students love to do. Listen to people talk, looking at slides, taking quizzes, checking understanding. You know, it's humbling when we have to do it.
Yeah.
But we did it. We didn't fall asleep. We did good. And we covered a lot of material. We had 4 big garage bays with 9 pieces of equipment that we took apart and practiced on, just like our students do. So next slide, Mike. Greg and I had to change hydraulic oil. We made a big mess. No, we didn't. The other guys did. We just spilled it all over the floor. We didn't. I held the funnel and he poured. We had to remove attachments. We have a Kubota here from our old landscaping program, and Don lets me use it once in a while, and it's seen its better days, but that thing keeps running.
Your students help keep it running?
Well, yeah, I mean, Don actually had us over there. When he heard about Kubota, he's like, hey, this thing could use a little love. So he had us go over, my whole class, what was that, last year? We went over to his shop and we did a whole fluid and filter change, and it was great. Took some pictures. And of course, the Kubota guy ate that up, it was great. But we were hands-on, and there's an RTV, which is a big side-by-side. Actually, the one we were assembling, wasn't that going to Alaska?
Yeah, it had that, the kit for,
enclosed.
Yeah, an enclosure and heat.
So the Kubota guys aren't stupid. They had us assemble all the equipment and service it so they could ship it to the next school that bought into the program. Oh, that's pretty smart. So it's a tractor, a zero turn, and a side-by-side. So pretty neat equipment. Electrical, with the EV, Kubota isn't getting into the EV yet. They're still perfecting the diesel engine, but electrical schematic training, we pretty heavy in that, and the curriculum really supports just basic electrical schematics, reading diagrams, knowing the components, understanding what you're doing. So we spent a whole couple days on that. What was really cool, and I've been to a lot of these, I think this was maybe your first one, Greg, but I sold it to Greg. I said, listen, you got to go to one of these training because it's networking. We were with 12 other teachers from around the United States. There was Mississippi and Washington State and Florida, I think.
And mostly post-secondary, but there was a high school teacher there from Alabama, I think.
That's right. So it's really neat to see talk to these guys. We spent a whole week together, and they were pretty comical guys. Teachers are a little, they're crazy, and they have to be because they're creative people. And these guys were fun to be with, but we learned a lot. I mean, we asked a lot of questions, and We exchange contact information. So we build a network and we'll tap into that probably. But
So when you
that was,
say most of them were, a lot of them were post-secondary.
Yeah.
So we would really be leading the way by offering this kind of training while they're still in high school. Then these kids would come out prepared, where most of these others are learning that in, post-secondary experience.
well, that's Greg and I had that conversation all the time. We're teaching at a post-secondary level. Our problem is that the maturity of the students isn't quite there sometimes. So we have those challenges, but yeah, if the student's ready, like our recipients tonight, they're mature, they're running with it, right? They're amazing. And we have those students too, but the majority are young, 9th, 10th graders, and they're still figuring it out. But post-secondary is a great opportunity, and they do well because they're older, but we're teaching the same thing. It's just we have a little different audience. But you're right, I didn't include the slide, but there are only, I think, maybe 2 high schools in the United States. And there aren't too many in the Northeast. The Northeast is surprisingly, there aren't too many schools that have this program. So Kubota's, they were all excited. I was like, oh, we'd love to have you. I'm like, well,
First in Marine too, first in this, and we really could be first in aviation again back. So aviation, Mr. Brink, the owner of the airport, one of the largest private airport right down the road, said, come to me with the proposal and plan. And we met with representatives from the state. They were very interested in us creating that first aviation program here with Bill's experience. He's already exposing that. Mr. Linden has been talking about that forever. And was also instrumental in helping us get the small engine program through his advocacy 10 years ago, because he was at every meeting saying, let's get that small engines. There's a similar opportunity for aviation. And we just got to make sure the timing's right and the budget is there. but-
Yeah, I don't know if we have enough room in our parking lot for a plane. All his motorcycles are taking up pretty much.
Or we're getting very creative on how we line them up. They're got to be real tight.
Now,
But
That's okay. Penridge is a really, really close drive. We could even probably walk to the airport.
I did have a question though. So is there going to be I guess it's for you, is there going to be an ask from the board to purchase these 3 pieces of equipment for this curriculum? And is that something that just comes out of curriculum budget or are we
That was-
For that
working?
program's budget that we should.
it was already approved.
Just saying.
Yeah, I thought I remembered this
Yeah.
last year. Yeah.
So what happened really is the grant closed at the end of June. And with supply chain issues, Kubota was like, we can't get it there by June 30th. So we had to just pull back a little bit.
From the equipment grant
Yeah,
from last year.
That's
yeah.
really what happened. It was all approved. You guys supported it. We
Yeah.
were moving forward, but then the supply chain bit us.
Well, you did say you have 3 local dealerships around. If each one of them donated you one of these pieces of equipment.
Well, it's
we
funny
could
you
get 'em some
mentioned that.
Co-op students.
It's funny you mentioned that, Chris, because one of the ideas of at the school, some of the other instructors from around the United States partner with their dealerships. Because one of the certificates that the students can earn is pre-delivery inspection and assembly. So basically, it's uncrating it, setting it up, putting the wheels on, putting the fluids in, firing it up, making sure everything's adjusted right. Well, who has new equipment sitting around?
Yeah.
The dealers, right? So some of these schools, they actually partner with Pipersville Lawn and Garden or Eagle down in Doylestown, and they bring them up on the flatbed in the crate. And then we work on it for a week or 2, my students and I, and we set it all up. When it's done, call them up, they come get it, deliver it to their customer or whatever. So
And that really applies right to NOCTI too, because during the pre-delivery inspection, obviously you have to check the torque on things as assembly, but you got to check fluid levels. You got to use a refractometer to check coolant protection level. There's a lot of things that it's stuff coming in, the students assemble it, it goes out, something else comes in, students, it's not the same, taking apart the same engine and putting it back together or the same, so it adds some variety, industry certifications, and also this equipment, and that knowledge applies to all equipment, right? So
That's why I said you get your students involved then too with,
yeah. Yeah, it's,
Not
well,
just
it's, and it's a nice, actually, it's a compact diesel engine, a little 3-cylinder. So you'd be able to pick it up. So it'd be a lot easier to overhaul a diesel engine, manage a small diesel engine on the stand versus a large bore engine. You know, it's where you need hoists and tables and, you know, really an engine lab to do that. So it would really fit nicely into my program as well.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I want to expand. Not that I have the time to teach anymore, but Marine has a diesel component. You know, a lot of Marine engines are diesel. And there's a big market for compact diesels and nobody's teaching it. So it kind of fits into my area because it's small equipment, but yet it's all diesel related. So, and Greg needs hydraulics.
Yep.
So it's like, it fits
It's
so
perfect.
well with both of us.
Like a night course.
Just give up sleeping altogether. Yeah.
When you talked about the technician, people are constantly contacting you to be technicians with this kind of training. What are the wages for that? Like average wages for a position like that?
It varies. I mean, you have to remember it's entry level, and it's really, it's all over the place right now because you can go to Wawa and earn $20 an hour. So the dealers are struggling because they're not keeping up with that. But we have seen it go up. I mean, they're starting these kids out at 14, 15 an hour, entry level, you know, just basic part-time, and it just goes up from there. We sell it to our students as, listen, you're getting paid to learn on the job. Don't worry about the money right now. The money comes later. But the dealers do pay decent. The money comes later in our industries.
Yeah, because they're charging $120 an hour.
Well, the labor rate's not what,
Yeah, well, depending on the dealer, yeah, and the volume, you know, the output of the dealer.
Yeah. But on the job training, of course, is where it's at, you know, and you can see the co-op numbers are way up, and we get calls all the time. But you know, the guy that called me from Pittsburgh 2 days ago, he's an automotive teacher. They pushed him into small engines. Here, teach small engines, and he's struggling, of course, because he doesn't have the background. But one of the first things he said was, you know, he says, now that I see what you guys teach in small engines, he's like, these kids can go anywhere. They can go heavy truck, they can go construction, because they have a little bit of everything. And that's the beauty of our programs here, is like, we're not just teaching one little thing. We're giving them a skill set that they can go into aviation if they want. They can go into Marine. They can go anywhere they want, whatever life opens up to them. They're ready to take advantage of it. So, you know, we're just looking to give our students more opportunity, more well-rounded knowledge, and we're excited about this. So Greg and I came back with 3 certificates each that we can frame and put on our wall, and that gets the kids excited too. They like the certificates, but it's really about the experience, you know, and learning. So we want to thank you for the opportunity. You know, everybody, all teachers have these conferences available to them, and I don't know how many take advantage of it, but we had a great time, and you know, appreciate the school supporting that endeavor. So.
Yeah, learned a lot. Like Bill said, it's a circle, right? So the dealers and Kubota's taking advantage of that, trying to get into the high schools, but give an opportunity to the high school in an effort to get, you know, technicians out, you know, and it's this, you know, PDE supports that, and they get it, and they're trying to get in at the high school level, like I think many industry OEMs are trying to do.
Well, they market this program. They said the dealers are screaming. The dealers are screaming to Kubota manufacturers, like, we need technicians. What are you doing to help us fix this? So they developed this program, and basically that package is at cost. They're not making any money on it. So it's you know, there are some companies that are really stepping up, which is about time.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
All of our auto wing is completely full with waiting lists. If we ever decided to, with the space, there is the vision to offer a basic course for all new students. That's always, that potential's there down the road. Mr. Young says he has enough stuff for that small engines. It's a great intro course for students. We just wanted to put that on the table. We had 2 tours. We want to thank Mr. Barrios last Friday for his tour, for coming out, the new superintendent from Penn Ridge. We heard he was a welder, and we put him in front of, in the welding lab.
Improve it.
Yes, we did.
And he improved, and he was approved. We also want to thank Dr. Friedman, who came in during the summer for a tour. We're looking forward to have him come back when the students are in session. But we had a chance to bring him to Rock Hill Filling Station, and Eric did prepare a nice meal, and that was a very nice day out. We have a social worker.
Can I, on that note with the superintendent tour, it was really cool. The kids in the welding program, you could see them all like peeking around the corner, like, is the superintendent really welding? They thought it was really neat. It was really neat for that program, for the kids to see that. And Mr. Barrios actually asked me to read a thank you letter that he had written because he really appreciated his time here. So if you don't mind, I'd like to share what his thoughts were. He wanted to be here tonight, but he had a prior application. So he said he wants to thank you for the recent tour of the Upper Bucks County Technical School. It was indeed an enlightening experience, and I commend you for your exceptional leadership in leading such a robust technical education program. The tour provided an invaluable opportunity for me to witness firsthand the dedication and commitment that you and your staff have invested in creating an environment where students can thrive, learn, and develop essential technical skills. It was evident throughout the visit that Upper Bucks County Technical School prioritizes the holistic development of its students, offering them a wide array of educational opportunities and resources. The state-of-the-art facilities, cutting-edge technology, and innovative programs showcased during the visit were truly impressive. Your institution's commitment to providing a comprehensive technical education that prepares students for the challenges of the modern workforce is commendable. It aligns perfectly with our shared goal of ensuring that our students have every opportunity to succeed in their future careers. I was particularly impressed by the dedication of your faculty and staff who work tirelessly to empower students with the knowledge and skills necessary to excel in their chosen fields. I quickly concluded that the Upper Bucks County Technical School is an institution where students are nurtured and encouraged to explore their interests, passions, and talents. Once again, I am grateful for the warm welcome and informative tour you provided Ms. Banis Clemens and me. I left with a deep appreciation for your work at Upper Bucks County Technical School. I look forward to continued collaboration and sharing of best practices between our institutions. Please thank your staff and students for their hospitality during my visit.
That was very nice, and I'm looking forward to working with Mr. Barrios, with his vision, his experience, his student-centered approach, and together we're going to accomplish great things both here and at Penn Ridge. Through the tour, we have through our grant, we have a social worker that starts on Monday and Wednesday.
She's funded through 2 separate grants. So initially she was funded through the PCCD grant. That was $140,000 grant to each of the schools in Pennsylvania, $70,000 for building safety and $70,000 for student health and wellness. So we agreed, we initially entered into a contract with the IU for 1 day a week, and then we found out that our COVID-19 funding or COVID-19 health grant was also funded that covered a different angle of services. And so we reached out to the IU to ask if those services were something that the social worker felt like she could provide, connecting students to drug and alcohol resources in the community. And she said yes. So we have her 2 days a week, but each Monday is funded by one grant, Wednesday is funded by another grant. So she is working out well. Everything is funneling through the counselors. So the referral comes into the counselor connects with the social worker may meet with the student and then reports out, go back through the counselors. So it's an additional resource. She has a caseload of about 16 kids that are in need of extensive services. And it doesn't circumvent SAP in any way. So we're still relying on the SAP team. It's just another layer of support at no cost to the board.
And Jamie Little from the IU has been a long-term visitor. He's a good conduit because we want to increase communication with the case managers, the 27, and those districts to make sure that our students are supported. It's been ongoing. So that's another situation where we want to make sure that's communicated back to the districts. So we're working closely together.
So you're saying that she is going to be sending any reports on any of the students back to their sending district?
Any student that she's working with, she is funneling that to the guidance counselors, and then they are,
At the sending district?
yes, they are funneling it to the sending districts.
So did anyone get the email from Tague Lumber? I know Mr. Hallowell did. He said, Mike, did you get this? And I said, they're coming into school the next day, and they met with all of the different programs. So we didn't realize they're a major employer in the area. They're in Doylestown. There's tons of jobs. We met with the director of HR, and many of our students are going to get employed through Tague Lumber. On October 13th, there's a Women in Construction event. They're trying to set the Guinness Book of World Records. There's a lot of authors there. And so we want to just, create those relationships. We get the email, we act on it, we bring them in here. They're like, oh my God. They cannot believe the students, the teachers, the faculty. And so if anyone's around and want to support, there's a free dinner. It's a free night out on October 13th. I'm almost done. I'm very sorry. I'll switch around a little bit. I wanted to just inform the JOC that through our relationship with CompTIA, I was asked to be part of their fly-in program in Washington. They're picking the top 50 education and workforce development professionals in the country. We're meeting with the Tim Herbert, which is CompTIA's Chief Research Officer. And I'm not flying in. I'm going to save the JOC some money. I'm going to drive to Washington, but I'm proud of the fact being able to represent our school as leaders in education and workforce development. I just want to thank the JOC for the support, for all the great things that you're doing that's putting us on that national spotlight. And more to come.
When is that I just want to know, so when I call, we'll get Stacy and we can bother her while you're gone. No.
You all have my cell phone number.
No, I'm teasing.
It's November.
It's in November. Okay.
And we just met with the superintendents and then the assistant superintendents today. CompTIA has a model program, Spark, which is free. It's 100 school districts in the country. We would be the second one in Pennsylvania, where they would meet with the middle school personnel and the superintendents. Kathy has graciously volunteered to be a model for that program and to see how that could be a good feeder program for us. Our students will have access to 20 credits, 5 industry certifications through CompTIA. Angel was a really great person, and we look forward to sharing the results of that.
So how does that work? Do they have like an assembly for 7th and 8th graders, or?
It's right now it's going to be discussion phase. We appreciate Dr. Scheid for, seeing.
That's why I was looking at her. I didn't know if she had
No,
that.
Yeah.
That sounded wonderful.
It's early, and like our project Lead the Way and like a lot of the engineering, it's important that we develop relationships with the middle schools that we could, talk about just opportunities for students to expose them. Mr. Chancellor often talks about meeting because he's fascinated what they do at the middle school level and vice versa. So we're really trying to create that collaboration. Thank you, Dr. Scheid, for being that model.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Scheid.
Senior Expo, like I mentioned, 65, Senator Coleman did a quick update, 65 people are registered. You're going, Mr. Lindem, you're not registered, you and your wife, right? Yeah, I'm gonna go. Okay, so I think we'll look, because one of our staff members goes, how are we gonna fit 200 people in the building? Well, it's from 9 to 1, and they're gonna be spread out throughout the building. They're gonna be in the cafeteria, exercise science, law enforcement, situational awareness. What a wonderful opportunity to engage the community and showcase our students' skills.
Who's giving the flu shot?
Not us.
I think St.
St.
Luke's,
Luke's,
yeah,
yeah.
by the,
I
looks
have
on the
another-
advertisements.
Wait, actually, I do know that, sorry. So St. Luke's and Life Quest is doing the blood pressure, et cetera. And just to go over the exhibitors that are being brought into it, besides Senator Coleman, PennDOT, Penridge Community Center, Nova, Visit Bucks County. When we ran that Region 1 conference, my first call was to Visit Bucks County through Mr. Cormack, and they helped set up hotel reservations and opportunities. We really thank that. Bucks County Health, Life Quest, United Way, SEPTA, et cetera. So again, it's just that community engagement involvement that we're super excited about. And that's, we'll talk, we want to just, on the agenda tonight is Mr. Pasante, who started the mechatronics program. He's here with us.
You want me to introduce myself?
You can.
Okay. My name is Chris Pasante. I'm currently with Eastern Center for Arts and Technology. I've been teaching for about 17 years now. I started out with Mr. Young up at Lehigh Career and Technical. I taught up there for 10 years at the mechatronics program. I started the mechatronics program here for 3 years, and then I continued that program, a similar robotics program down at Eastern Center for Arts and Technology. I'm a 1988 graduate of Penridge High School. I also graduated from Upper Bucks in 1988. If anybody was wondering why I want to come back, this is home to me. I had family that had a pizzeria on Main Street, Sellersville, for about 30 years. Rock and Ray's, if any of you know of it, right? My cousin John still runs it with his family. And it was a really rewarding experience working here, especially with the staff we have here, because they're really passionate about teaching. There's a certain intrinsic value to being able to call home when you have a problem with a student. You find out you went to grade school with their uncle. Or you're at the local diner and there walks in one of your best students with his girlfriend. You get to harass him a little bit. This is home to me, and I've missed it quite a bit for the last 3 years. I've had nothing but good experiences the 3 years I was here, and it was a difficult choice to move away from this school. So when I heard Rich was retiring, I looked on the website, I saw the advertisement, and I applied for the position again.
Talent management is so key and it's essential. And so school districts deserve the employees that they have, and you've created a culture here that has people wanting to come back. Mr. Pasante, without getting too personal, is taking a pay cut to come back here because he appreciates and understands the culture and value and the rewards of working for here. So
You have a fantastic teaching staff here, and the last 3 years I missed them quite dearly because there was people to lean on here in tough times, with people to learn from. Mr. Young I worked with him up at LCTI for 10 years, and it was a great experience having those people around you, being able to pull knowledge from them about teaching.
what was your robot called?
Pre-Swiss cheese, and that was actually Andrew Hockman's.
And tell us about Andrew Hockman.
Andrew Hockman actually is working with Pac Pro Inc. over in Southern. He's a production engineer. He's I guess he graduated 4 years ago now.
I lose track.
So 2019, he graduated from Quakertown High School. So he currently sits on my OAC for Eastern, because we have three OAC meetings a year. One of them is hybrid, one of them is totally remote. But he's a nice enough kid. He showed up in person anyway.
Yeah.
So one of the, so a few years ago, when you were still here and you had the BattleBots competition.
Yeah.
I went out and you had the Swiss cheese.
Yeah, that was
BattleBot.
great. Josh, Andrew Hockman, There was a couple others. Yeah, the names escape me right now, but yeah, they were a good group of kids.
Yeah, well, I mean, they spoke very highly of you. You had a great relationship with your kids. And I remember them explaining the story on how they named it the Swiss cheese because they expected, it was yellow, they made it yellow. They expected it to have all these holes in it at
Right.
the end because it was gonna get beaten up. But yours destroyed everybody else's, so it had no holes in it by the end because it killed everybody else's battle lines.
I think those students actually would stay after school to work on that because everyone dismisses still at 2:05, I believe. So 2:05 they dismissed, and I had 4 or 5 students that would stay in the lab and they'd actually work on that. And it was interesting to see all those different students actually bond together from different schools who didn't even know each other before that. And it brought a little community into my program. And it's something where I'm in a larger school, about 9 sending districts, great kids, great staff, great administration, great JOC. But again, this is home to me. This is where I grew up at. I grew up in Hilltown Township, right along Rickett Road there. I went to John M. Grass Elementary. This is my community.
At the end of the evening, we're gonna get a UBCTS shirt, Chris, too.
Oh, yeah, well, I do have some sitting at home, but I've lost a little weight since
So-
leaving, so.
We had Mr. Pasante meet with the students to express an interest, and the kids asked some really good questions. He spent the day with them, and so we appreciated that.
Well, I came in the PM session, got to meet the PM class. I hope to take a personal day and come meet the AM class, and I hope to contact a lot of my OAC members that are still in this area.
I'd like to thank Mr. McQuarrie right now, who's subbing in there for the 2 months, and you had a chance to meet him. Not always easier. We have the best facilitators, and they go unnoticed, but they're invaluable. His level of experience to keep the students engaged in a very hazardous program that goes all the way up to 3-phase power is quite remarkable. And we're very, very lucky to have him. So Chris, welcome aboard. We appreciate, we want you to win the next Battle Bot competition.
Of course.
Megatronics is going to be a new contest at Skills USA, so we have high expectations. As we could say over and over again, Ms. Pasante, great program. Mr. Matias, great program, slightly different, but we will combine, and we appreciate Mr. Matias still coming in, working with, leading his legacy. NASA Hunch will be here on October 26th. We'll be getting Mr. Pasante involved, trying to get him released as early as possible. And they'll be back on the 27th because we want to get involved with culinary and NASA. That's next too. So more good things happening.
So Mr. Pasante, thank you. I mean, Mechatronics is one of the like crown jewels. Is the first time I came in here, that's where like my focus went. The first tour I ever came to here, and when we heard of Mr. Matias' retirement, I was like, this is going to be a hard class to really cover, and to get somebody that actually started that class, and for our students to go from one great instructor to another, it just keeps that program really strong, and I'm glad to see it's moving on in good hands.
And you were a great recruiter going to Faith Christian, going to those schools, knowing that you have to be able to get the right student, right seat at the right time was important.
Quakertown is an elective night. We showed up there one year.
Yep.
So.
Oh, great. There's also, I don't remember if it was going on while you were still here or not, but the summer camps that they have, that we have at the tech school, the morning, a couple hours is the 3rd through 5th grade, and then 6th through 8th grade in the afternoon, and whatever instructors.
I participated in that
Did you
one.
do that one before? Okay.
Oh, I thought he was just gonna run out the door. and be
So
like,
if you
whoa,
can
whoa, I wasn't until you told me I gotta work summers now.
That's extra.
That's extra, all right.
I know, I think that's a great program, because I think a lot of the kids don't really know what that is until they come in and experience it. So a program like
But it
yours
does help
doing
with
that summer one
recruitment.
is great.
Students get familiar with the teacher, familiar with the program.
Yeah.
We submitted Chris's name. He may be interested in teaching for ABC too. So that's another.
I'm actually talking with Mike Cafiglia,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna have a meeting with him on Tuesday. I went through the interview already, and they're interested in having me teach, and I'm gonna discuss curriculum with him this coming Tuesday.
Love it. Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank
That's
you.
my report. Sorry, it's a little long.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so. Go ahead.
Adrian, now it died.
So, 10-year donation, you did not go through all of these reports. So we have a 10-year report, so I can read this one because I will do it. And I would like to congratulate Mr. Kozak and Mr. McClung. No?
Oh,
Oh,
that was another meeting. Yeah.
what am I doing here?
I don't know what agenda.
June 15th. Hold on,
I'm
my
done,
my
I'm
fat
done.
finger
Just
hit
in
the
case
wrong
anyone's
button
worried,
on
I'm
there.
done.
Sorry about that. Well, Mr. McClung, and
Tracy's
you
gonna
can have
kill
your
me.
10-year all over again. Go ahead, Mike. Where are we at now? Hold on.
Back to the record.
I'm on okay, now I'm on this agenda again. I did not touch that. I don't know how it went in there. Okay, so we are all done administrative reports here.
Committee reports.
Okay, subcommittee reports, facility subcommittee. I don't know who wants to take that. We
You weren't here. No, I wasn't.
For the
Neither
facility
were.
subcommittee,
Neither of you were
we had a
actually.
meeting with,
It went really long.
yeah, it went very long, but we had very meaningful discussions with SiteLogic on, how we should approach future projects. And there are basically 4 future projects that we want to consider for next year's budget. We are waiting to get back and hear some figures on those, some more concrete estimates on those before we can bring them and put them into our budget for next year or consider them for our budget. We also had a review of the new kitchen project in here, and everything seems to be going according to the new schedule after a slight delay from permitting. But it looks as though the students will be getting back into that room somewhat in October, more in November, more in December, and by next year, it should be almost completely finished by next calendar year, not school year. As far as facilities, I think that's it.
Tables were donated.
Tables were donated
We're able to
from
use that
Stitch
to
Fix,
raise in
yeah.
there.
And there is an agenda item for this evening to approve the purchase of the door.
Yes.
Yeah, the partitions, yep.
And there is an agenda item this evening, as Mr. Hollowell said, to purchase the sliding accordion doors, partition doors. Yes. Okay. So the finance subcommittee then, I guess Tanya's here now. She can just do that one.
Sure. We did an update on the school's fixed asset inventory with a report with IAC. We have some follow-up to do from suggestions from the committee, follow up on the length and time with IAC, and also kind of look at the in-house process and procedures for tracking this going forward. And we also did an update on the 23-24 budget where we are current expenditures and revenues, and also looked at the capital balances.
Okay. We did not, well, go ahead.
For
Mike.
program, we went over, and there's an agenda item about leasing the esthetician program to Bucks County Community College. We talked about our vet tech program potentially. Mr. Hallowell, Mr. Krug, Dr. Diamond, and Ms. Dake and I going out tomorrow with an OAC meeting the first week in October to have a coordinated and strategic plan for bringing animals back on campus. And we talked about our record enrollment this year. And we talked about the middle school presentations. We did a grouping on our special populations with an overall percentage of 40%. And we also talked about addressing students off the waiting list that if they're interested, to communicate with them that they were accepted, but there's not a spot available to them at this time. And that's my program.
Okay, Policy, you just briefly. went
Policy,
over.
we did a quick overview of 625, 702, 703, 704, 705. We welcome Ms. Landis's leadership on the chairing the policy as a whole committee. And we look forward then to creating the next set and bringing these policies to first reading next month.
Okay, so we'll move on to the consent agenda, and I will go over these all real quick. I will try and bundle them together. I know you don't like that, Mr. Hollowell, but since we're running so far behind, I will give you the opportunity to pull one out if you would like. So, the. You get one.
Chris, don't taunt him.
Okay. So we will, I'll read them here. A is the August minutes, B is the September bills payable, C is the August financial reports, D is personnel recommendations, which include the new hire of the facilitators and the mechatronics instructor who we just spoke to, Christopher Pasante. So,
A question. I'm new, so.
well, hold on, let me finish going through this and then you can
Okay.
ask your question. E is the approval of the operation of the 2023-24 Carl Perkins grant of $153,750. F is to approve contracted services for a substance abuse counselor through the IU. We just had that report. G is to accept a donation from Bromley Machine. Yeah, for stock carbon steel, aluminum, stainless steel, approximately value of $1,000. So, does anybody have any issues with voting on all of these at once, or would anybody like to remove one?
Let me
Well,
ask my
we'll get to the question part
No,
then.
it has to do with voting. on
Oh,
all those
okay.
at once. My question is, we have, I'm a little confused because we have a counselor starting, a social worker starting next week. And we just congratulated this man because he's going to be our new teacher. I have nothing wrong with that. And now we're voting?
I will tell you that we were sent an email about the new teacher ahead of time.
Mhm.
And it was asked if anybody had any objections to bringing him in, that we needed to add him onto the agenda as soon as possible. So his current employer, we can start that clock from his hold as soon as
Oh, was she
possible.
on that email yet? Was she?
You may not
I
have been
was.
on,
Oh, you
okay.
were on the email. I saw it. I read his resume.
So it
It's
doesn't
very
normally
good.
happen.
Okay.
But in this, it
In
doesn't
this
normally
case-
happen.
I'm glad to
Okay,
hear
so-
that.
That's what I was
there's-
saying. In this case, this was, the clock was
So,
ticking.
so when
We
there's a
wanted to-
when there's a situation where where there's a recommendation for a new hire because of the 60-day holds that we have and how long that goes, Dr. Herrera will send out an email with the information and give us a few days. If we object to it, then then he'll wait. But if there's no objections, then they move forward with it pending approval. So it
And-
gives the board the opportunity to say, hey, I have questions or concerns about this, please hold on.
And that also-
That's the process,
Would
yeah.
be the same thing?
Well, the social worker is just a contracted
That's
service
contracted
through
through
the
the
IU,
intermediate
so
unit,
it's not
so
like a new hire.
No, they actually started under a different grant. This is an additional grant. So you can still vote, if you so chose, you can still vote different position for that
Oh,
one.
I see.
So it's not putting the cart before the horse. They're already
Okay,
here and
thank
it's
you.
got a
You were right
position.
about the appointment. It doesn't normally go that way.
No,
This is
yeah,
just-
yeah, and I was trying to
Did you
explain
see
it,
the little-
but because we
Yeah,
have meetings once every 30 days, and they can be held for 60, sometimes that could make for like a 90-day window that our students will be without a teacher. So sometimes that gets expedited a little bit, but nothing.
I just understand. I just was surprised
Yeah.
when we congratulated him for the position when we had.
Hadn't voted yet,
Right,
yes.
right, understand.
I got you.
And then also that, the grant, the 100 and some thousand, what is that?
That's a Carl Perkins grant. That's like a federal grant that's distributed by the state for all CTE. Actually, you can either one of you can explain this a lot better than me.
And we get about, was it 3% funding from this federal government through Perkins, would you say, of our budget?
I don't know the percentage.
It's about right?
Yeah.
About 3%, and so the
on-
Carl Perkins
no, I
Act, we're in Perkins 5, and that helps support career tech ed from a federal perspective. We use that to hire our facilitators. Stacy, you want to take the question?
Sure, we fund 8 of our facilitators through Perkins, either in a 70-30 split or an 80-20 split. So that allows us to have them do other duties as well with that, the smaller percentage of time that's not funded by Perkins. But our facilitators push in, they do small group instruction. We have one instructional facilitator who has a math background. So he works with students who are struggling to understand the math as it's applied in the technical setting, which supports one of the Perkins indicators that we struggle with, which is the passing students, the percentage of students who score proficient on Keystone Algebra. So there's 6 benchmarks that we have to hit, and we use the grant to support achievement in each of those benchmark areas.
School boards have seen a lot of federal grant money that is specific to COVID and the aftermath. This is not one of those. Perkins goes back years, probably 1954. Go back longer than that.
Yeah.
I'm always a little leery with.
This one
federal
actually
state.
predates Jim Hollowell.
Because generally there's stipulations that go with money, that, grants and federal and state money, and that's always a concern.
Yeah, this is one I think that's distributed to almost every CTE.
Yeah, pretty much, we get the same amount each year, so for budgeting purposes, we would like that increased, right, without the string attached, and they're just talking about Perkins 6 now, so your sentiment is appropriate, and as we begin to see what those regulations are for Perkins 6, we really need to look at that.
And the social work had started, we voted for the initial, for her to come in for the initial grant
so
last
she's
month.
been here.
Yeah, so this is voting on those add-on duties, whether or not to add that other piece on based on the other grant.
All covered under the grant.
Thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
No, it's okay. Yeah. We seem to spend a lot more time on reports than we do on the actual like voting items. We kind of rip through those but we get the information somewhat, somehow. But
So I'll make a motion.
Second.
okay, we already had some discussion. Is there any more discussion?
I'd just like to ask that the financial reports be available before. I wasn't able to access them until here. So I don't know if I did sign in properly or if the links weren't there. I couldn't get to the financial.
Okay.
Okay, we'll make sure that you get that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I make a suggestion too? If, whenever you go to access them and you're not able to access them, can we, like, I don't know when you typically look at I don't know if you typically look on Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever, but can we try to coordinate, like maybe whatever you can't access, reach out to Dr. Herrera and he'll help.
Send it to the
That
whole
way he can make sure
JOC.
you-
I can.
That
even
way he
help
can
you.
make sure you get
Yeah.
it ahead of time, so you don't end up coming here and not having it.
Yeah. Okay, all in favor? All in favor of approving A through G?
Computer died.
Mine did too.
I'm still online. Still, oh wait,
He's
I
still
have
online
one,
twice.
Diane Rashino.
Yes.
Yes, she's still online, okay. Okay,
Oh, she said yes.
all in favor of approving A through G?
That was her yes.
Oh, okay. That was 9. So motion passed. Any opposed?
Well, we already voted.
Any abstentions? 9 yays. Okay. Out-of-state field trip. A motion to approve the baking and pastry arts program. The instructor and one facilitator to tour Porados in Pennsauken, New Jersey on October 20th 2023 for a cost of $900 to $600 from the general fund and $300 from the student activity
A
fund.
second.
Who made the motion?
Dave already did.
Oh, wow, that
Before
was
you
quick.
read it.
Okay, any questions or comments? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Hold on, we gotta wait for Diane.
I'm waiting. Are you an aye on that, Diane? I think Adrian has.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, and this is the lease agreement, a motion to approve an agreement between UBCTS and Bucks County Community College entered into by UBCTS and Bucks County Community College on January 1st. To partner in the provision of an after-hours aesthetics program administered by Bucks County Community College. Okay. Any questions or comments?
Dave,
Yeah.
you look at this agreement, everything's
This
good
is
in
the
your.
lease I saw, right? Yeah.
Yes.
This is the most recent one, I think. There was an original draft.
This is the right way to the lease. Sorry, after the lessor and the lessor is the larger party, I think that's right.
Right. And you'll see it's also time limit.
Yeah. Okay.
Are they taking some of your supplies? Or are they bringing it up? I have the same
It's,
question.
it's all specified in there.
I saw that they're gonna administer it, but I didn't see anything about supplies.
Well, I did see a question and actually spoke to Dr. Herrera about this because I saw an email from Cora about, and you can come up to the podium
Kim
because
has
you're gonna have to
answers, yeah.
probably answer this anyway.
Yes.
But it was, in the lease, it specifies that UBCTS will be responsible for purchasing, supplies and I guess materials for
Well,
this
how
class.
we're gonna do it is, I'm putting, most private schools, the student kit contains a lot of product. So that's kind of what I'm doing like more like the private school sector does. But we've talked, and the easiest thing, so I've got to work this out with Bucks County, is with my license, I have to set up accounts for Bucks County for our distributors. So everything would just go through the community college. It wouldn't actually go through here. Am I saying that correctly?
You are.
Okay.
Okay.
So that way it's clean for the audit and she can sleep at night and y'all
Yes.
don't yell at me.
And that was one of the questions was why are we buying it to be reimbursed by them? And that just seems like a headache for.
Agreed.
So that's something that we still have to work out, and they just need to approve for me to make, and I gotta to figure out all of their procedures and their business office and their.
So
forms
your
and figure out how
license
to do
is
it.
tied to this school only, or is your
Yes.
license independent and tied to you?
No, it's tied to me, but because through State Board of Cosmetology, I'm the supervisor for in my sense, the school is that classroom down there, so that's the cosmetology school. So I'm the supervisor, so I'm legally responsible for everything. If you look it up online, I am now forever intertwined with Upper Bucks. And even previous to me, when we got fines for different things, even though I was not the instructor here, it is now linked to me. So I'm not happy about that, but what do? It's before me, and anybody that knows me knows it's before me and knows it's not me. So we have a clean record since I've been here. So that's why all of the classes are going to be here, because you need a cosmetology school license. They don't have the space. They're not interested in creating the space. We already have this facility, and then it's just, we're scratching each other's back kind of, so to speak. So we're going to make some money off of them. I'm going to make some money off of them. And it helps the community because there is a demand for estheticians. So, and whenever the students come during the day, we're getting the whole thing, which they can still go out and do aesthetics. And we do have students that do that. So, and one of the components that I want to try to work out with them is we got rid of adult ed. And that's okay, but we always have those students that come into the program late and can never finish the program, and they have to transfer to our private school. So we have 2 students that came in last year as juniors, one Quakertown and one Penridge. So I'm trying to work out a deal with them that they, you know, we have the entrepreneurship program that Bucks County Community College gives our kids a tremendous discount on. So I'm trying to get them to give these 2 students a tremendous discount. So they won't do any aesthetics things during the public school day with me. They'll do the other things and then come in at night and do the aesthetics program. And then that way they can possibly
Catch up on their hours.
finish their hours and finish the curriculum by the end of the school
And
year.
crush the Skills USA esthetician program, like
Yeah,
an
yeah, they
award
can-
winner, because there's a contest in that.
Because they'll be
Yeah.
taking college level classes of, well,
Right, I mean, this is a non-credential class, but it's, you know, it's a certification class, you know, they can sit for the licensing. And then I'll help them, you know, just like what the daytime students, try to help them get jobs in salons.
like what Mr. Young was saying, you're probably teaching a post-secondary level class in high school now, right?
I teach the aesthetics program during the day. It's tied in with the cosmetology license, we do hair, skin and nails.
Yeah.
So but the way this one will be run more like a private sector school than a public sector school, where the products and everything are gonna be more included in the student kit, where the daytime students, we supply the product under our general, how do I wanna say that, our general money, our general supplies. And
Of the
right.
proceeds from your hair, from your salon.
No, that stays with the salon stuff. There's rules about that too.
Along a similar note, Ms. Landis brought up, well, what about CDL? If you remember, I proposed the CDL a year or 2 ago. And we found out through the CDL, they just went through a whole accreditation process. But through this conversation, they're interested in coming back to the JOC and leasing space out for the CDL at night for our students at Diesel and the community, et cetera. So stay tuned for that next.
All right,
So
well, we
is that
have,
what- so,
question.
so Mr. Khan, do we need to modify this agreement based on what you just said?
Well, no, maybe, but not yet, because we don't know what it looks like. You can execute the agreement because it's gonna be under her name anyway. I'll have to look at the specific language. Depending on what the final arrangement is, we may exchange just written correspondence to reflect that this is how the equipment is gonna supplies.
The bullet underneath that, the second bullet there, it says supplying Bucks County Community College with the skincare products needed to teach the class. That's the same skincare.
Yeah, that's
products
kind of
that-
what we were just talking about. We're
Yeah.
trying to like get the accounts under their name so they can just purchase, like I have to like do their purchasing process. Just
Yeah.
like if it was here, we do our purchasing process,
It's
but
just
then
a
they
little
pay the bill, we don't have to
confusing.
reimburse.
Okay.
yeah. Okay, so do we need to make an amendment to the motion that will
No, he
approve
said
it with
no.
changes? Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any further questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? And Diane?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you still hear me okay?
We got you,
Okay.
Diane.
All right, thank you.
Ken, thank you for doing this for the
No
benefit of the community.
Thank you. Okay, next item is the Modern Fold operable partitions. A motion to approve the purchase of the Modern Fold operable partitions
So
for
moved.
use in the culinary expansion under Co-Stars for $161,308.
Make a motion.
I already had a motion.
She can't make it, you have to finish your statement first.
All right. Tracy, I'll let you figure out who you want to write down. Okay. Is there any questions or comments about this? Okay.
You
So close. We're so
We were really close here.
No surprise. So we're in a position where it's a large line item, there was no approved budget, you know, at least everybody knows what's coming anyway. And if we vote no, you know, it's like, well, we don't care about the kids, and that's not true. But one of the most important things that we do is spend taxpayers' money. One of the most important things that we have to do is to release how we're going to spend that money ahead of time with an approved budget.
And this next is an exception to that. And you know, what do I do? Do I look bad or just do something that's against principle? You know, and I don't want the school to think that I want to withhold funds, because that's not the case. I just want to follow the open and proper process.
But Chuck, you do realize that Quakertown, just at our
I'm not
very
talking
last
about
meeting, did
Quaker- I'm
the
not talking
exact
about
same
Quaker,
thing.
I'm talking about this.
No, we approved adding like security cameras onto these light poles
I'm
and
talking about
speakers into the scoreboard, all that weren't budgeted. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in expenses.
The money was there.
No, the money is there
the
because
money
we
was
had
out.
excesses
You know what?
that
The
can be
money was
converted over,
budgeted,
which
Chris.
is exactly what this
I'm
is.
not arguing. Well, you know what? Thank you, I'm done.
So,
Okay.
So Mr. Shermer, to your point, last meeting, we had a discussion about that, right? And that the preference, and that's why Site Logic said, you know, we told them, look, these things need to be getting to us earlier. We need a solid number. So I think our discussion last month was, we still have this one outstanding thing that we need to do. You wanted us to be able to get the administration to show how we're going to pay for it. And that's why Tanya shared exactly where the money was going to come from. And so we said that we would be finishing that out for this. And then the plan was that for next budget season, we want all of those numbers ahead of time. So the numbers can be very detailed and clear before that we go through that budget process. So I think that's what we're trying to accomplish.
No, I understand. It just doesn't change the situation on this outlay. It was, you know, $160,000. I mean, we were kind of thinking it was gonna be 600, and you know, that things got delayed, and then it's, you know, 700, and now it's gonna be close to 900,000.
I was always under the impression of 800, but this originally was supposed to be part of that original project. We didn't have the figure for it at the point, but we tried to add,
I'm not arguing.
we tried to get a budget passed with all this stuff in it.
Right, and it didn't pass.
So
We're
we
doing it
had,
anyway. And that is a burr under the saddle too, right?
well, we had the money in surplus.
I never questioned that having the money, and I had a pretty good idea where it was coming from. So, and that's okay. And it's great that we have the money.
All the
Point is,
sending
gotta be
districts do the same
transparent about
thing.
it.
When they have surplus,
Yeah.
they reallocate it sometimes.
Well,
If they have unfilled positions, they reallocate those unfilled positions to other
dollar-
positions. or-
Every dollar that's spent in Quakertown appears on an approved budget.
No, it does
somewhere.
not. No, it does not.
We don't spend a dollar more in the approved.
No,
budget.
yeah, you're right. $1 more.
And we're.
Well, we had
schools are
this-
Permitted to spend more than the approved budget amount. That's unfortunately the way it's structured.
We're not spending
I don't
more than
agree
our
with
budgeted amount. We had a surplus because of unused money last year, whether it was unfilled positions, whether it was more grants than expected. There was many reasons why there was a surplus.
Chris, if you're trying to allude to the fact that this was an approved
No, I'm not.
activity, it's a weak system. Doesn't lie.
I'm not saying that this was approved on our last
Can I-
year's budget.
Can I
Yes.
gently suggest, only because this is my fourth night out this week?
Okay,
That Mr. Shermer has made his position clear, and
Yes.
I don't think either of you are gonna convince the other.
I don't think we are either.
Right.
And you look good, Chuck. That's right. There you go.
Just a logistical point, as far as, no, just one quick thing, and not about that.
I say you shut up when you
Well,
want
when
to.
you-
Motion in the second on the floor.
No, when you said about the eight, that it wasn't in, that, that's why the budget didn't pass, I just want to make it clear, they wanted that $800,000 back, and we did send that $800,000 back, this isn't coming from that, I just want to make
No,
that
yeah,
clear.
this is,
This is
'Cause-
altogether different. What could have happened.
I just wanted to make it
was
clear that
a
we weren't
budgetary
going against
transfer
what didn't pass, that's all.
The extra funds were sitting into the repairs or whatever. That was done. That's fine.
Sounds like a motion in a second on the floor, and no more comments or questions, and.
okay. All right. Is there, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Diane,
Yes.
Okay, thank you. It's 9-0.
I forgot what we were voting.
Sometimes the discussions can go a little off. Now we'll have a public comment period from any audience members or Zoom members on any item, whether it's on or off the agenda. Mr. Lindy, I always look at you. No? Okay.
Come on.
I don't see any chats or any hands on Zoom. So we'll move on. The next regular JOC board meeting is scheduled for October 19th at 7 PM in this room for JOC members. The next item is for JOC committee concerns. Are there any JOC members that have any concerns that they would like to voice
I
now?
don't have any concerns, but I don't know if Dr. Herrera is aware of the advocacy week that PSBA is having. It's October the 2nd, Monday, which is only a week away, to Friday. And they're going to be doing in person in Harrisburg, and actually Jared Coleman is going to be there at 11 o'clock if you would want to meet him. And they're also doing it by Zoom, and you have to register on the PSBA site. I just thought you'd be interested in it.
Would any JOC members like to accompany me, like a grandchild?
Do you want to take a ride out to Harrisburg or?
No.
No, you could do it on Zoom too. Are you doing it?
I'll do it, well, I'm doing it for Palisades, definitely.
Are you going in person or you Zoom?
No, I'm
Yeah.
doing it Zoom, yeah, and I'll be registered, so I just thought you would want to know that.
I do, thank you.
Mhm. And also, I don't know if you're aware of this new institute that the Pennsylvania School Safety Institute that's open. PSBA kind of funded it, and they have a whole building now, and they've got all this training and all kinds of stuff.
Actually, a whole, good suggestion, your whole law enforcement program might actually be interesting.
Yeah.
They literally do like a simulated.
It's really
crisis.
cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very interesting. We, Chief Phelan couldn't be here, but we held a law enforcement day. We had the political person from Verizon Frontline that is giving us costs on how to get connectivity in the building. We had the 911 dispatch center, which we said, what a great certificate for law enforcement. We had the district attorney, all 3 school districts were here, juvenile probation, et cetera. So thank you. We take that very serious. Excellent. We'd love to be part of that.
Okay, any other JOC concerns? Okay, we'll move on.
Before we hang up, this is not a concern. Mr. Sheena, we're gonna have a quick executive, well, hopefully quick executive session. Do you want us to try and phone you in from the other room?
Yeah, that would be great if you can.
Either that.
I gotta-
Everyone will leave, everyone else will leave.
Well, there's still cameras and microphones. He's. Okay, then can I have a motion to adjourn?
You got it. I'll make the motion.
So you get the second then. All right, all in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? And Diane?
Yes.
Okay, we're adjourned.
I do my job, keep it moving.